Hello, so today I'm interviewing Equality, a bit of a longtime friend of mine, constant essay partner, decently well known in certain communities, specifically, you'd be looking at B&H. But go ahead and introduce yourself for a little bit, talk about yourself.
First of all, thanks for reaching out to me and for having me on here. Yeah, I go by the full name that I go by is Equality 7-2521. Most people call me Equality. Some people call me EQ. But yeah, I just been an engineer main for a little bit of time during my time in Highlander, and I'm very passionate about the class. And Team Fortress 2 is always just one of those games where I can plug myself back into, no matter how much time passes.
Okay. It's definitely fair. So I guess, what sort of brought you to the TF2 community initially? How did you get into the game on a casual level?
Oh, okay. So how did I find the game? So okay, this is actually kind of interesting. Way back when I wasn't when I was like in middle school, or like I think it was like younger or something. I wasn't really into FPS because my understanding of FPS was like Battlefield and Call of Duty, and I thought that was really stupid. So that was like my understanding of first person shooters. But then what ended up happening was I got into Minecraft, and then you remember the Yogscast, right?
Oh yeah, Yogscast, Lewis and Simon.
Yeah. I forgot if it was Lewis or Simon, but that person was playing Team Fortress 2, and I still remember the map he was playing on. Do you know Toy Fort 3?
I do not. Do you have a link?
Man, it's like some players might know what map this is. It's like it's like a 5 CP map that takes place in basically a series of children's bedrooms. Yeah, it's a 5. Yeah. The upper left image.
Nice.
Yeah. It looks like that. So it's like
Game banana.
Yeah. It's like all the TF2 players are characters of Toy Story, and they're just like beating each other up. So yeah, one of the members of the Yogscast was playing on that map, and I looked at it, and I still remember what class he was playing, medic, and he was complaining about how awful his soldier pocket was, and I saw the game, and I was just really attracted to it because it looked much different than a lot of the FPSs that were kind of stereotyped during the time of the day. So. Funnily enough, I got into it when it got free to play, and then I just started playing the game, and I started having a good time with it.
And what class was that starting off as?
Oh shoot, I think so. I think I ended up like starting as engineer because it's like I mean that's just the I guess that's just the class I gravitated to first, and then I had a moment where I like freaking played medic for a considerable period of time, and then I switched back to engineer, and I was like, yeah, this is the class that I like to spend the most amount of time on, so I just kept going.
Okay. What was the main motivating factor towards your choice of engineer? What was the sense of attachment to it?
Well, I think because I grew up on FPS games like Starcraft and Red Alert 2. Those are my childhood games in a sense. So and I really didn't consider myself like the very, very combative type. And I guess I'm still like that now. So what ended up happening was that I looked up classes that felt like an RTS, or felt like you could contribute much to the team without doing a significant amount of fighting. And that's where like I gravitated to engineer and medic, but ultimately engineer, since he has the more RTS elements to him.
Right. So you decided to become a Redditor. Got it.
No, Reddit.
You don't agree that an engineer is equivalent to a Redditor?
How?
Have you ever talked to Ethan F., also known as High Impact Dolphin in the past, or Snoozy June or Grin? Classic Redditors.
I don't go on Reddit. I am not a Redditor.
Alright, so then how do you explain your choice of engineer? I think there's a clear conflict there.
Oh my gosh. Well, I do know a little bit about June. I do know a considerable amount of about Grin. The only thing I know about High Impact Dolphin is that he exists. I should look more into him though.
Yeah.
But should the time provide.
So, would you dispute the fact that engineers are equivalent to Redditors, though? On the record.
I don't know. I don't know what social media you could equate like engineer mains to. I guess like LinkedIn.
I see.
maybe LinkedIn. I don't know.
Okay. Alright. How about, like, out of game? What's your sort of, like, professional interest, college, stuff like that? Like,
Okay,
general
so
profession?
yeah. So I graduated with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from a. I don't want to really specify the university because it
No,
kind of
that's
feels like a
fine,
soft
that's fine.
box. But it was a very tough engineering program. It was one of the best in the world, and I feel like the only thing that I got out of that was like permanent indigestion, because during my last semester I was so stressed that I couldn't eat food. Like the food intake that I was capable of was like 25% of my normal amount. It's just like imagine being hungry, but your body also tells you if you eat, I will vomit.
Hmm.
So
I see.
so it was like it's like oh, I gotta sleep for 3 hours. That's perfectly fine. It's just
It's
another
normal.
another yeah another day in the office. Oh, there was a time where like the freaking the midterm average was like 40 something percent. So it was like freaking and all the it was like a public college too. So all the professors were like curving it to like a freaking B minus or something. Yeah. So yeah. Right now, I work at I still work as a despite being graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. I currently just do programming at the current time. Uh, kind of working on getting into the mechanical engineering field, but I'm also under the impression that I still have a lot to learn in my current job, just about how to maneuver in the professional field. So I'm just kind of hanging around, and plus we're supposedly getting a large project in the future, so may as well stick around for that for a bit.
Okay. So, I do see that, like, you're pretty upfront about the fact that you were on the autism spectrum on your profile, and I was wondering,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what sort of ways
yeah.
has that impacted you? Is that something that sort of, like, do you think there's, like, a certain connection between just, like, this sort of, like, STEM field and neurodivergency? Or gaming in
I,
general?
I mean, I guess so, and I'm not when I say autistic, sometimes I mean it in like the joking way, but I'm also kind of serious because I have been diagnosed when I was in high school. Like it was like this revelation because I don't know. Apparently, like most people are stricken with tragedy when they realize that they have a certain mental condition. But there was a massive catharsis when I realized I had it.
Oh, yeah?
Because because throughout my entire life, I had trouble socializing. I had trouble like fitting in with any sort of group. So being the teenager I was at during the day, like you start looking at diagnosis. Like, do I have bipolar disorder? Do I have schizophrenia? What type of frontal lobe damage do I have when I was born? What have I been cursed with? What have I been cursed with for the rest of my life? So so eventually my parents took me to a professional, and then I went through some tests. I filled out some stuff, and it was like an IQ test or something along those lines too. So what ended up happening is like, yeah, you're diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. I got the doctor's note. As far as like engineers' connection to like the STEM field is concerned, I think I don't know. I suppose there's a correlation because you have to be like there are just certain personalities or certain like structure of mind that connects to certain jobs, right? It's like
Right.
I suppose you could kind of see it in TF2 as well, where certain mains display certain types of behavior. Generally speaking, of course, there are exceptions, right? But it's like there's like stereotypes about people who main certain classes, right?
Okay. Yeah,
And
no, for
I
sure.
think there's yeah. So it's kind of like I think the personality that you have or the mentality that you have also gravitates you to certain things in life.
Okay. And what sort of impact has, like, it had and you kind of going forward? Like, are there any ways you really need to, like, cope with it? Like, I'm just interested in kind of the methodology behind it, any advice you'd have with other people, for other
Yeah,
people who might be
yeah.
struggling.
So the best advice that I have is actually force yourself to socialize. That's the best advice I could give, because the lesson that I learned the lesson that I learned the hard way, and the lesson that I'm still learning now, is the fact that because we live in a society, Blister, we live in a society. All right.
Okay.
Do you agree that we live in a society? Okay, we do. Okay, great.
I'd actually disagree with that, but carry on.
No, like in more seriousness, it's like that old mantra. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So it doesn't matter if you have like a fancy degree or if you know a lot of stuff, or even if you're more competent than the people around you. If you don't socialize and if you don't network, if you don't have like people that you could contact, it's very difficult for you to get anywhere, bar none. It's like, unless you're so genius and you're so special and you're so out of this world that they cannot ignore you despite your social faux pas, right? It's going to be difficult for you to get anywhere. And I learned that lesson the hard way, actually, in both competitive TF2 and in real life, where where I was under the perception that I was under the perception that I was more intelligent than this person, I was more competent than this particular individual, but this person got the job. This person went to a college that is technically not as challenging as the one that I went to, but this guy got a job at a high profile company. How did that happen? It's because he knew people, right? And it's like, geez. So I don't know. My advice would be just learn to socialize and acclimatize yourself to society, and just kind of increase your tolerance levels. Because and you know what, mistakes are going to happen, and you're going to mess up and whatnot. But that's the only way you're ever going to learn, and that's the only way you're ever going to get out of it.
Right. Okay. So it's undoubtedly kind of just like shaped who you are as a person, sort of how you approach things. Like, it's an obstacle that you've kind of come to terms with as you've grown.
Absolutely. I mean, I made joke about ha 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 freaking autism LOL, but if you just kind of look at it holistically, I think it's screwed me over in many ways, both like socially, academically, professionally, like mentally, just a lot of things. Right. It really screwed me over in a lot of ways, because if I had better social skills throughout my life, just kind of through the course of my life, I would be in a much better position.
Oh, I'd agree with you. Yeah.
In many ways.
All right. Okay.
Again, it's not necessarily your level of competence, although that is important, right? Because once you get the position, you must be able to fulfill it. But it's also who you know. It's who you have networking with.
So, is it something that you kind of usually like outgoingly show, or is it more just something that you tend to kind of like internalize and keep to yourself? Like, I know that you joke about it a bit, right? But
it's like half joking, half serious. If that makes any sense. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of like what is it? When people talk about comedy, there's like a kernel of truth in there.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know. That's kind of a weird way to put it, but I'm not. I do struggle with it, but I also like understand that it's something. It's something that you can't like completely take over you, and you have to. It's just another obstacle that you have to overcome. And you know what? It's locked me out of a variety of opportunities, and I would be lying if I said that there was no bitterness within me because of it. But at the same time, instead of sitting around and complaining, you just have to work with the cards you've been dealt, right? You can't expect the entire world to change for you.
Do you think it's something that like you feel is usually better to be like public or upfront about? Like, let's say it's not online, like it's in person. Is it something that you're very like communicative of other people towards? Like,
well, it's like this kind of goes back to social skills, right? Because you don't want to just bring it. You just don't want to bring it up, right? So it's like, well, you just gotta find the right timing for it. You gotta find the right situation for it. But you know what? If you improve enough, you don't even have to talk about it. Because it's like nowadays, my social skills has improved to the point where like people can't even tell.
I see.
And then I can converse with people that myself like 7 years ago would never have been able to talk to and have a good relationship with. Yeah, much better now than before. It's because I really try to work my way through it.
So, would you say like the sort of takeaway message before we kind of shift focus is that it's important to like not entirely let it define you, but also to kind of be cognizant of it, like to kind of just deal with it? Okay.
Yeah, you have to. Think of it as like a challenge to overcome, right? It's like, just think of it as like, those inspiring stories where, somebody's born with like a significantly more serious condition, or somebody's like or like a tragic accident happens that they overcome, right? It's like it's great. And it, even though that person may not be able to reach the highest planes of skill. The mere fact that the particular individual has managed to make so much progress considering all the conditions is admirable, right? And you can't let the cards you've been dealt to you completely consume you, right? You have to learn to overcome it the best you can. And I don't know, that's honestly all I can say about it, because me sitting there in the corner like freaking, with my autism, like screeching like I'm Christian or something, like that's not helping me. That's not going to help anyone.
Right. Okay. So it's like
No, go ahead. Sorry.
So I was gonna say, yeah, it's just like the path might be a bit different for everybody, but it's all about just not focusing on the negativity, kind of taking matters into your own hands, taking control of your own life, and just going with whatever support systems you need. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta start taking responsibility, and you gotta start stepping up and start making progress. Because it's kind of like that. It's like that one quote on the internet somebody said. It's like there's nothing shameful about being weak, but staying weak is.
Right. Okay.
Right, because we all start somewhere, right? We all start like incompetent, or we all start in a bad condition. But what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna sit around and cry about it? Are you just gonna sit around and cope and seethe, or are you gonna pick yourself up and actually
cope?
Cope. No, but it's like I don't know if you see like if you see like people who are like really strong or really fast or really good at a specific skill, like they didn't come out of the womb with all of that.
No,
they have to work for it. They all have to work for it. Like you see like think about TF2. Freaking think about when Banny first started playing the game. He wasn't hitting every air shot when he was starting. He earned the skill that he earned. Right.
No, I respect it. Yeah, it's good to have some solutions, some answers. I guess, like, do you ever find yourself kind of, like, second-guessing or, like, doubting it, though, kind of, like, needing to go back and just talk to people about it? Or is it something that you feel like you've kind of moved beyond at this point, that you have a good enough grasp on?
I think you always have to talk to individuals, because also the other thing that I realized is that, and this was a moment of catharsis for me, everybody needs to talk to people. It's not just... I kind of have the self-deprecating like notion that I'm still trying to get over it now. Sorry, excuse me. There's a self-deprecating thing that I'm trying to get over now, which is like I'm the single mortal living amongst demigods, but that's not true at all. Like every single person, you and I and everybody listening to the sounds of our voices right now, we're all fallible individuals, and we all need some sort of assistance. It's like that old quote, like no man is an island. We all need a support system of some kind, whether you have autism or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and we always need help, because there's always something that we're not going to know. We don't know everything. There's no one human on this planet that knows absolutely everything and is good at absolutely everything. You need other people, whether you like it or not.
Right. Okay. I think that's about all I'd want to talk about on that topic. Like, I feel like that's some pretty good stuff right there, pretty good takeaways. Unless you would like to expand upon it any further, I think I'm about ready to shift topics.
No, I'm good. I wasn't expecting the autism topic, but hey.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely either, but it's just like it's all about just kind of naturally going about it, just finding the discussion, having it heart to heart with the other person. It's something that you'll get from just, trying to pre-script it, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's one of the skills that you kind of have to acquire as an interviewer, right? Or like just I guess anybody doing podcasts or talking stuff, which is there's going to be moments where like you kind of go off script, or you just kind of have to go with the flow, right? It's like it's gonna end up being too robotic if it's gonna be like freaking like bullet points like A through G. We're gonna go through all of them. Like it's not a business meeting,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, it's great to hear about. It could really help people. I think like a lot of people kind of struggle with like disorders, mental health in general, like especially in like gaming communities, and it's important to just get people to talk about it as people and to let them see it.
You can't let that stuff fester on your own. You have to you need to seek wise counsel. Ultimately speaking, it's like if you're drowning, you don't seek help from other people that are drowning. You seek help from people who have both feet on the ground. It's like that's just how this works.
Do you ever think that like everybody's kind of drowning though, and it's just that like some are floating slightly more than others?
Yeah, I guess so. But it's like I don't know. You're drowning in the pool of like let's say for I guess it depends on like the specific topic or the specific field, right? Because for like I don't know. Let's take me for instance. I'm drowning in the pool of autism. You know, I'm drowning in the pool of like awful stupid social skills. Well, who's going to help me get out of the pond? Someone who is not autistic and somebody who is socially acclimated, right? That's the person who has both feet on the ground. You know, like with the freaking like life preserver. You know, like cat.
But then let's take me talking to you. It's clown to clown communication. You can't have clowns running the show.
Yeah, but you get what I mean. It's like
I totally get you.
Yeah, you need someone who's in like a much better situation than you, or like who understands how to maneuver around the thing that you're trying to maneuver through, that you're having that you're struggling with, right?
Yeah, sometimes to sort of get like to understand an issue, you have to talk to somebody who isn't necessarily like experiencing the same issue or who has a different experience with it.
Yeah. So like one of the things that helped me was like my family members, like mom, dad, my brother, and whatnot, because they would like when I came back from college, they would kind of guide me through situations. So like I would interact with a certain group of people, and then they would kind of like debrief sometimes, like in the car back home.
Yeah.
Right. It's like okay, all right, my dude. You're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to say it like this, or you were talking too long here, and you need to give the other person some space, or why don't you try asking the other person like this question, right, and show some interest in what other people have to say, right, or it's like I would talk about complicated topics, but this person doesn't want complicated topics. So okay, what's the wise thing to do? Dumb it down or talk about simpler stuff, right? It's like it's all these different things that you kind of get feedback, and then I come to the realization that hey, some people I can have like much more deeper or much more complicated topics, and some people they just want to talk about the latest freaking Marvel movie,
Yeah, not everybody's going to want to talk about highly detailed TF2 engineering essays.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, actually, no. That's actually quite fitting, because imagine like the reaction of just some acquaintance that I had if I just start rambling about freaking Dave Plus's Sigathu. Like, imagine how awkward it would be for the other guy.
Yeah, so Scott, just like put yourself in the other person's shoes a bit. Yeah. Try to imagine it from the other person.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like one of those things where there's no. It's one of those things. One of the things that I realize is that you can't overthink it, and there's no like set in stone rules when it comes to like talking to people. It's a lot of intuition and experience, which kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning when I talked about you just have to throw yourself in social situations and you just have to fail.
Right, gotta trial and error, or else you'll never really learn everything.
And this connects to seeking wise counsel, because without wise counsel, how are you going to get proper feedback?
Right. I definitely feel like I've heard you say a decent few of those things to me, like specific advice.
I mean, I said a lot of things to you. I don't remember like what situation happened.
No, that's fair. Okay. So, you mentioned Starcraft earlier, right?
Yeah, because Brood War was kind of my childhood, I suppose. It's not one of the first games I played.
You want to walk me through some of that? Talk about that for a bit.
I mean, well, Starcraft is a large topic. Where would you like me to begin?
What was the initial interest for you, I guess?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm Korean. I don't know. I just thought the game was cool, and I think it's just the quality of the game that itself. Like, I can't really give you an answer on like a deep philosophical level of why I like Starcraft, but I suppose I could, because it was just a fun game that I would play when I was a kid, and then I would use like the cheat codes in order to get to the campaign, because the campaign was actually kind of hard. And then what would happen is that like at like the like when I got out of college, I started taking the Starcraft 1v1 seriously. And I got really into it. I got super into it. Like holy crap! Like I did like all this research. I looked up all the various ways I can improve. I managed to get an impressive like 325 FPS and like just by in the course of like 3 months of playing. Like three months of playing, I went from like what was it, like 70 actions per minute to like 300 something actions per minute.
The grind, holy shit!
If not like the high 200s, like that's how quickly like I improved my dexterity, and then I got so sucked into it, and I was really passionate about it, and I seem to have a knack for it too because I was beating people who've been playing the game for a couple of years.
Okay. I guess what I'd really be most interested in were like the sort of takeaways. This is something we could kind of like further get into when we get into like the essays, but it sounds like there's sort of like a lot of takeaways about just like the playstyles of each race and this whole sort of like RTS mindset that you would try to apply to Team Fortress 2 and other games. Yeah?
Well, I suppose so. I think a good place to start regarding that would be funnily enough, the mirror matchups. Because the personality of the races really start appearing when you mirror them. Terran versus Terran is very slow. It's very steady. It's two very slow but very powerful forces kind of maneuvering around each other, and they just kind of keep drawing lines of the sand and start consuming resources in various parts of the map. Right. Actually, no. I need to take one step back. There are two general concepts in StarCraft that everybody must understand. One, more money. More money. Get as much money as humanly possible. Okay. All right. Concept number 2: fast versus strong. Fast versus strong. So, we actually see this concept in TF2. Actually, okay. So, actually, instead of talking about the mirrors, I get to talk about the matchup that exemplifies this the most: Terran versus Protoss. So the idea is that the units that are very strong, right, or things that are typically noted as very powerful or very immobile.
Heavy.
Right? right. Or stickies. Stickies, once you place them down, you cannot move them voluntarily. Right?
Yeah.
Right? The medic, very, very powerful, but has no mobility tool. Right?
Sentry gun.
Right. Sentry gun, exactly. Yeah, I was about to say the sentry gun. Right, it's very powerful, but it's very immobile. In StarCraft, we see that with spider mines, the siege tank, dark swarm. We see that, it's like I guess carriers. Right, there's lurkers. There's a lot of things in Brood War that are very strong but are very immobile. Right. On the flip side, there are things that may not have as much firepower but are very fast and very mobile.
And that would be
we see scout, soldier, spy. They can get around. They don't have as much like. They may not have as much like firepower, like pound for pound, as like demo or heavy, right? Just like in like raw DPS. I know that there's like exceptions. Like you could do a lot of work as the flank, but they're very mobile and they can pick their fights better. But they're like more fragile, right? And they have like less sustaining firepower than something that's like very slow but very powerful, right? So examples of StarCraft, like we just talked about TF2, but examples of StarCraft would be like the Vulture. The Vulture is extremely. It's the fastest. It's the fastest unit like in the game, with the exception of like the Interceptor, but the Interceptor really doesn't count. Vulture is very fast, but it doesn't. It deals very poor damage against a lot of units and structures. What's another unit that's fast? Protoss armies in general. The Zealot is very fast. Zerglings
the Charge.
No, I'm talking about Brood War. Charge doesn't exist.
Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah. So okay. So when I talk about StarCraft, I'm not saying this even as an elite. It's just like as a matter of fact. It's like when I talk about StarCraft, I'm talking specifically about Brood War, because I don't dilly squat about StarCraft 2. Right.
No, that's fair. Right.
So Zealot. So Zealots in StarCraft 1. Not only are they like they're more tanky in a variety of ways, but they in kind of like a mid-tier tech is you can increase their run speed. So they're able to like they're really slow in the beginning, but they actually really book it when you get that speed upgrade. Dragoons are relatively fast. Like as far as Protoss versus Terran is concerned, the Protoss army is relatively faster than the Terran's army. It's like the Terran army is really restricted by the fact that the tanks, once they siege up, they cannot move.
Right. Okay.
So Terran is a very strong army, right? But it's very immobile. You have tanks that needs to be sieged in order to maximize their effectiveness. The tanks themselves are pretty slow, and the tanks are often paired with vultures, which plant mines in order to zone. The vultures also serve as a buffer, and even though they are indeed fast, because the main DPS comes from the tanks, the vultures are tied to the tanks in a sense. Does that make sense? It's like
you have to have them complementing each other.
Right, because they kind of need to be together. I mean, the vultures can do things like they can go to like Protoss expansions and kill probes. They can like try to flank and pick off High Templars or pick off Zealots or whatever. But for the most part, like the Terran army is considered immobile, and the Protoss army is considered a very mobile, right? But not as strong because they simply do not have the raw firepower that the Terran army has, pound for pound. Right, but now, pound for pound, like a 200 maxed Protoss army is going to consistently lose to a maxed out Terran army. That's just a matter of fact. It's just a matter of numbers and how the units work. Now, but what advantage does the Protoss have? Well, we have to talk about mobility, because if you look at a lot of matchups. When I played Brood War, I'm a filthy Protoss main. I know there's a famous caster that absolutely hates Protoss mains. Sorry. What was it? Because Protoss is significantly more mobile, they actually have more bases on the map. So, generally speaking, if Terran has 3 bases, Protosses will generally have at least 5.
Okay, so like a faster ramp up / expansion.
Yeah. So because Terran is so slow and Protoss is so fast, right? It means that Protoss can take control more of the map. And I think Sovereign talked about this too when you interviewed him, when he was talking about how because certain races are significantly more mobile, you're actually able to take control of more areas of the map.
Right, that makes sense.
So, because of this, Protoss is actually able to acquire much more resources. They're able to get more resources just kind of overall than the Terran, which means that they can create more armies. So even though the Terran army may be of higher quality, so to say, and they're able to dish out a lot more damage, Protoss can cycle through more armies than the Terran, and they can afford to do so.
So it's like the Terrans have to play kind of like defensively smart, and they can't afford to make as many mistakes.
Yeah, actually, because here's the thing. If I kill the tanks, like if I kill all the tanks and none of the vultures, I am very confident in my chances of winning. Because the tanks, they require a lot of gas. You can't make them out of like every single factory. You actually need the machine shop add-on for your factories. They're pretty expensive. They take a considerably long time to make, and there are the DPS of your army. So the main DPS of your army is throttled by all of these factors, or by a resource throttle, by a certain tech throttle, right? So you need all of these things, but your tank is your core unit. That's how you're going to kill the Protoss army. That's the best unit you got. So if I as the Protoss main kill a vast majority of the Terran tanks, I'm at a significant advantage. So when the Terran Deathball push comes up, my primary target are the tanks. If I can kill the tanks, I'm happy.
So
go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say in like a TF2 sense, it would be like running a sack wave for the medic.
Yeah. It's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like I could lose like a freaking 24 zealots. Okay, if I kill a lot of the tanks and if I clear a lot of the mines, I'm happy.
Okay.
You sacked your scout, your soldier, and your engineer to kill the medic. And the demo man. Fair trade. You could even lose your spy and it'd still be kind of okay.
Right? It's all about the goal, yeah.
Right, it's like where's the main source of damage coming from as far as like the Starcraft, as far as the Terran army is concerned, right? It's the tank, it's the siege tank, and as long as I can get on top of that, and funnily enough, right, all the other crap that the Terran army has, it's more or less to like protect the tanks, you know how in Highlander like the world kind of revolves around the sniper and the demo man.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of the same in the Terran army as far as versus Protoss too. The are there to protect the tanks. The vultures are there to protect the tanks. The Goliaths, the science vessel to an extent. All of that is to protect the tank. right? It's like everything the engineer does. What do I do as the engineer on King of the Hill? I protect the sniper. Maybe I rotate to the combo and protect the demo man, right?
Right.
Hey, if you sack, who do you sack for? You sack for medic, you sack for sniper, you sack for demo, right? Because snipers, you know, like sniper demo or the siege in the siege thing in a lot of respect. They have a respectable amount of range. They do an insane amount of damage, right? Their mere presence, you know, sends shockwaves down your freaking spine, right? So that's kind of the Terran, but the Protoss has their advantage, which is they're significantly more mobile. They can take more resources on the map, and because of this, they're able to accrue a lot more resources. But they still have to be careful because once the Terran gets far enough to them, it's actually very difficult.
Okay.
And yeah, and the challenge that both Terran and Protoss has is that I'm probably going to word this very poorly, but a lot of the fighting in Terran versus Protoss happens before the actual fight itself.
Right, like it's all about the initial positioning, kind of.
Yes, it's about angles, it's about positioning, it's about catching your opponents. You know, like you like as a Protoss player, if I catch a bunch of tanks unsiege, I'm going in. If that guy has 2 control groups of tanks and they're all unsiege, I am attack moving all of my troops. It is bonsai time. It's
bonsai.
Like, yeah, no, I am going like it's like I'm going brain dead roamer on the tanks. You know, like just okay. Like you know, like I'm in. They're looking at me. I'm dead. No, because it's like but that's kind of the dance that happens between Terran versus Protoss, right? Because it's like Terran wants to make sure that they're not cut out of position, and how do they do this? They use vultures, they use mines, they use scanner sweeps, they use science vessels. In order to see where the Protoss army is, the Protoss is using observers in order to make sure that they have the location of the Terran army. They're constantly trying to position themselves in order to get the best angle, right? So there's this dance that happens, and that's the main fight before the engagement itself. You know, it's like I'm pretty sure I don't know. Like I'm not the most experienced Highlander dude, right? But you have significantly more experience in Highlander than I do, and I'm pretty sure there were plenty of moments where the fight was decided before it even began.
Oh yeah, like how many players are up, what players are doing, their health values.
Yeah. The relative positioning on the map, how out of position they are. Yeah, it's like the fight's already decided, right? And the other thing about the advantage that the Protoss army has is because of their mobility, they can choose their fights better. The onus is much more on them, and the reason why like a Terran move out might be a little like they have to be a little bit careful is because the Protoss army may have the possibility of rotating around and going straight to their main. That has happened. That has happened. Where like and what are you gonna do? What is the Terran army gonna do? They're just gonna what you're gonna turn around and go back? That's actually a possibility. Another I can't believe I didn't mention this. About the mobility of the Protoss. Do you know about the Protoss unit called the Arbiter? The Arbiter.
I actually don't. I'm not that familiar with the first one.
So the Arbiter is a unit. Is a Stargate unit. It's a late game unit, and it costs 450 gas to make.
That's pretty expensive.
And it takes over 2 minutes for spawn. Okay, it's like 100. Let me look this up. Hold on. Wait. No. I gotta make sure that like freaking. No. It's 100 gas, 350 minerals, and 100 in-game seconds. Okay, yeah. It has like all of this cost. Okay, that's you played a little bit of Starcraft, so you understand how massive 350 gas is, right?
Yeah.
And you know how massive 100 seconds is. Okay. Well, the Arbiter has 3 very special abilities. Okay, one is a cloaking field.
Wow.
Okay, it's like doesn't the mothership in StarCraft 2 have a cloaking field?
Yeah, or at least in some of the mods I play, but I'm pretty sure like by default it has that.
Okay, all right. It has that. It has a stasis field, which is this affects any unit, both friendly and enemy, in its range, and it just basically puts them in a crystal, and they are untargetable.
So it sends them to Brazil?
Yes, it sends them to Brazil. They cannot be targeted. They cannot be targeted. They cannot attack, but their collision is still active.
So you can body block like an Uber.
Yeah, you can body block. That's actually happened where like you actually stasis your own units on a ramp, so the enemy can't come up, and the stasis actually lasts forever. How long does it last? It lasts for 44 seconds.
Oh wow, that is pretty
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. Like everything in Brood War is overpowered. Like how did this pass in the game? The reason why like all of this is acceptable because everything is strong in this game. Okay. The last spell in the game that the Arbiter has that really increases the Protoss's mobility is an ability called Recall.
Oh.
Right. So it doesn't. If I remember correctly, the Mothership has Recall, right, in Starcraft 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Imagine. Yeah. But like it's only the Mothership has that ability. Okay. You can make as many Arbiters as you want as long as you can afford it.
No way!
Right?
How do you play around that?
Right, but that adds to the Protoss mobility. So here's what you do. Here's what you do as Protoss. You get your Arbiter in like 12 to 13 minutes, like 12 to 14 minutes or something, and you can do it if you execute the opening well enough. And what ends up happening is that your first Arbiter is to stasis the freaking tanks when they come. Because what that allows you to do, right? Imagine like you're playing like a King of the Hill, right?
Hmm?
You're playing Koth, but you can temporarily like disable the demo man, right? And just fight the heavy, and then the demo man is like out of Brazil, and you can kill him, right? Or like you could just freeze the combo, and they can't do anything, but
right.
like, they can't attack you, but you can't attack them, and you
Uber
just have
Pyro.
to fight their flank. Right, you just have to fight their flank, and then their pyro, and then you get to fight their combo, right? So like you get to fight their army in chunks.
What's the counterplay to that?
Get good.
I see.
But here's the thing: the Terran army is actually so good that the Protoss needs it. Like at the highest level, if your Arbiter gets EMP'd by the frickin' Science Vessel, your first Arbiter, you might lose the game.
I see.
You actually might lose the game. You need the stasis, and you also stasis like the tanks in the right location, because you don't want to stasis the you don't want to stasis the tanks that are in the front. You want to stasis the tanks that are in the back, right? Because remember how you said that? Remember how I said that collision is still active?
Yeah.
Right. Right. So if you stasis the tanks in the front, you're literally creating a wall for the tanks in the back. So you gotta stasis the tanks in the back, and the other thing, is that freaking right. But I'm sorry, the freaking recall, right? Recall could teleport your entire army, and then you just go straight to the Terran base. Like Terran players will have like a crap ton of missile turrets. They'll have like a science vessels, patrolling in order to intercept the Arbiter.
That's a lot of counterplay to one thing.
Yeah, but that's the reason why the Arbiter is so powerful. Is because the Terran response has to be multifaceted. He has to do multiple things in order to handle it, and it's a large source of like headache for a Terran player, right? So and then if you get like an energy upgrade for the Arbiter, right? The Arbiter could have 250 energy, okay? Which means if the Arbiter has full energy, he can do a recall followed up with the stasis, right? So what this one guy did is that he would just get one Arbiter. He would go to the Terran base, right? He would recall his army, get 2 zealots, go to his ramp, and stasis them. Right, on his main. Yeah, we do a little bit of trolling, and he just he was streaming, right? And he just starts screaming, "Recall!"
Fearsome battle cry.
Yeah, no. Like he does like a freaking recall battle cry, and then he just like, I'm sorry, my throat's a little my throat's been really sore lately, but
it's good.
My apologies. But he just freaking recalls all of his troops. He just like he stasises like the zealots on the ramp, and then the Terran just taps out. He's like, I'm done. I can't play this. This is too stupid.
GG. I'm out of here.
Actually, like he just kind of like GG's and he leaves.
So it's like what the chess masters do.
Yeah, I guess so, because it's like, yeah, but that's the mobility that Protoss has, and but no, but mobility is its own strength. You may not be as like pound for pound stronger than your opponent, but if you can be at more places at once, right? If you can choose your fights, if you can choose your location, that is an advantage in and of itself.
Okay. Could you walk me through some of the other matchups?
Oh shoot. Which one are you curious about?
I guess like Zerg versus Protoss.
Oh, so that's my favorite matchup.
Oh yeah?
That's my favorite matchup.
Tell me about.
Oh, there's like 1.5 meta openings.
So like,
you do forge fast expand or gate fast expand, or you're trolling, or like you're doing some sort of one base cheese.
Okay.
Okay, so so Protoss versus Zerg is kind of interesting because both armies are pretty quite mobile actually, but the Protoss army is considered the slower one. And pound for pound, the Protoss army is stronger. So it's like imagine Terran versus Protoss again, but Terran is the Protoss and the Protoss is the Zerg, right? So remember how I told you when Terran has 3 bases, Protoss will have 5.
Yeah.
In the matchup. Well, if I have 3 bases, the Zerg has 4 to 5. If I have 3 bases as Protoss.
Okay.
Okay, so it kind of goes to show you that the Zerg army is significantly more mobile. But one thing that is actually quite interesting in the matchup is that what should we call it? The mid game is very very bizarre because you only have do you know do you know about the units, the Corsair and the Scourge?
Scourge, yeah, that's like the unit that kamikazes.
Yeah, the air-to-air kamikaze. They can only attack air, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The Corsair is a Protoss air unit that only does air-to-air damage. It's an air unit that can only shoot other air units, and it does like little bursts of damage. It does like 5 damage, but it does 5 damage really really fast, and it's also there's like a slight AOE. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The mid game is Corsairs fighting Scourge.
I see. Who usually wins?
Well, that's the dance. It's a matchup. Okay, that's an asymmetric but balanced matchup. Okay, so but like you look at this fight initial. Oh god, you're gonna kill them all. Oh god, no.
Yep, I'm doing a Protoss ability. I'm dead.
That's not a what Protoss. Okay, never mind. Okay, no.
I'm not going to incriminate myself as a non-Starcraft player further. Nah, I'm kidding.
Oh my goodness me! I love Dustful Steel and Vanguard.
Yes.
I'm imagining like the troll face screaming. You know, it's like that.
Yes, we do a little troll.
No. Like he's like his eyes are like all his eyes are all veining. He's like his mouth is really open.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm just imagining him saying that. Okay. Right. So you have the Corsair and then you have the Scourge, right? You have this weird dynamic where it's very weird because it's only air-to-air units fighting in the mid game for some godforsaken reason. And you know, if you don't know anything about StarCraft and you're looking at this, you might think it's stupid, right? Because it's like
sounds stupid to me.
Right. Well, there's like a ground army. So like, well, where's the ground army? I mean, the ground army exists, but you seem to be investing a lot in the freaking these units that can only shoot air, right? The reason why Protoss builds Corsairs is because of Overlords.
Right, they want to like
because of Overlords.
They want to take out the supply.
Yeah. So to those who don't know, like those who don't play those who don't play StarCraft, you can't just build units like. You need to build like these supply, you know, these food structures that let you build these units in the first place. And if you don't have enough supply, you can't build a unit, right? So you not only need like the raw resources, which is the minerals and the gas, but you also need the supply, and that's the third resource you need to build anything, any unit in the game. And for Protoss and Terran, the supply entity is a building. But for Zerg, it's actually a flying unit called the Overlord. So Zerg needs Overlords to build 80 units at all, and because they're their air units, they tend to clump up. The Zerg mains tend to clump them up in a specific area, So what you do with the Corsair is that you just get a pack of Corsairs, you run and you kill all the Overlords, and now the Zerg is supply blocked, then he can't build any units because he has no supply.
I see.
Right. So that's why scourges appear. In order to like body block, in order to like ward off the Corsairs or just kind of zone them out. That's why you see like defensive Hydralisk play. That's why you sometimes even see Mutalisks, although the matchup can get a little funky there. That's why you see like Spore Colonies, just because Corsairs are trouble, and even in professional games, you see instances where top level Zergs are getting like they're just getting demolished by Corsairs. Like they just can't build anything. They can't build anything. Their Corsairs just keep going down, and their Overlords keep dying, and it just kind of spirals out of control. So it's this weird thing where like initially it looks really dumb, but if you understand how the matchup works, it's like, oh, I see what's happening. I see what's happening.
Right. So it's like running a sack to prevent a sack or something like that.
I guess so, because it's like you're going over you're essentially targeting a critical resource of the enemy, right? Right. So I guess that kind of makes sense. Yeah, you're going for a sack in order to prevent the sack, or you're bombing because they're bombing.
Right. It's like you're just trying to prevent their ability from to get rid of your key asset.
Yeah, exactly, and you're kind of meeting force with force, right? It's like you're using your air force in order to mess with my essential resources. Well, that means I need my own air force in order to block your attempt.
Right. Just to contest them, keep their focus on that.
Right. And sometimes if here's the funny part: if enough Corsairs die, the Zerg might switch to Mutalisk.
So they can like target ground as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because because Corsairs are somewhat costly. So what ends up happening is that sometimes Protosses will only build one Stargate, and all of those Corsairs are going to take time to replenish. Right. So you end up with the situation. Oh god, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, I was trying to bounce some.
You end up with a situation where you end up with a situation where like you just don't have Corsairs because I don't know, like you fumbled the ball for some reason. Maybe you got a little too crazy and you went too aggressive, or maybe you just weren't, you had a freaking skill issue and you couldn't maneuver around the Corsairs for some reason, right? During that situation, the Zerg might smell weakness and they might just go Mutalisk, right?
Right.
It's like I don't know, like you did a sack for a sack. Well, your sack failed. I still have my flank, so I'm gonna bomb you. I'm gonna bomb you back. Right.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like the core concept is I invested resources in order to prevent you from targeting a key asset. Your investment failed. My investment is going to pay off now.
I see.
Yeah.
Stock traders be like.
Yeah, no, because it's like you already have Spire. You're depending on how much you want to invest into air, you might get Air Carapace, which is actually quite impactful for Corsairs in particular. Right, and if you go for Mutalisk, you could really screw over a Protoss like that. Because with Mutalisk, you can target High Templars, and if you don't have High Templars, if you don't have Psionic Storm, you just can't fight. You just can't do the matchup if you don't have Psi Storm. It's like, I mean, if you want to connect it back to TF2, just like, this is freaking, backstabbing the demo, bombing for the demo, or something, or just doing something to the demo man, right? Because you need that AOE damage,
right? Maybe switching Pritzkrieg to like counter a Stalk Uber if you can't get an Uber off auto.
Yeah, exactly. It's just continuously picking off the High Templar, and that's actually one of the more infuriating things that a good Zerg will do. That they will. It doesn't matter if they lose like a couple Mutalisks, as long as they're getting your High Templars, they're happy about it. It's like High Templars cost 150 gas, which is a substantial amount. It takes energy to build the Psi Storm. Like even if you get like their freaking energy upgrade, you still need to wait a little bit for them to have Storm. And it's
sense.
Right, and it's like it just takes a lot of time, man. Once you have all these Mutalisks flying around, try to harass you from the back, or attacking your probes. Like time is of the essence. You don't have time. You need time to replenish your workers. You need time to like replenish. I don't know, like if you decide to go back to Corsairs again, I guess. But at this point, you may as well just keep building High Templars. You need time to make the High Templars. You need time for the High Templars to get Storm. You need to make sure that the High Templars actually get to your freaking army. all the while the mutalisks are like killing your crap, and it's just and now the Zerg is they're acquiring they're acquiring Hydralisks, they're acquiring Lurkers, they're getting the Hive Tech, they're gonna bring out the Defiler soon. Oh god, the Defiler! Don't get me started on that unit. Right, they're gonna get all this stuff, right? Because they're applying so much pressure to you. Right. And then it's kind of those instances where because you apply so much good pressure, you're just able to keep the momentum going, and you just become unstoppable. I'm pretty sure you have moments in King of the Hill where they basically run out the entire timer. You can't even cap the point.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because they just kept killing your crap. Right? Maybe they kept bombing you, or maybe they always used their Uber advantage, or maybe
forward hold.
Maybe this was one of those. Yeah. Maybe they did like a forward hold, right? And it just kind of spirals out of control.
Right.
You don't have enough. You just can't find enough juice to get you going. Right. And that's ultimate, like, freaking feels bad, man. Just what are you even supposed to do? Like you're getting the replay and you're like showing your coach, and all the coach can tell you is like, hey, you should have not gone to that situation in the first place, my dude. Prevention is the best medicine, didn't you know?
What would Zerg versus Terran be?
Zerg versus Terran, I'll summarize it like this. Zerg survives until Defiler, and then it's anyone's game. Zerg tries to not die to the Terran until Defilers, and then it's anyone's game.
So it's all about kind of like buying time until that point?
Yeah, you know what? It's like... Imagine you're playing Payload, Zerg would be red, and Terran would be blue. Okay?
Wait, Zerg would be red?
Zerg would be red, and Terran would be blue.
Okay.
And it's like, if you were to just contain this in like a very small situation, because do you know what the Defiler did in Brood War?
No. It's good at anti-air though, right?
No. So the Defiler is the Defiler is a high-tech unit.
I'm thinking of the Corruptor in Starcraft 2.
No, you're thinking of okay, the Corruptor in Starcraft 2. Okay.
Carry on.
If you once it describe to you what this unit does, you're gonna understand why they removed it. All right. So the Defiler is a high-tech unit. It has 3 abilities. Okay. The first ability is called Plague. Okay, you have to research it at the Defiler then. And it is an AoE. It's an AoE effect that affects every unit and every building within its vicinity, both you and your enemies.
Oh no.
And anything infected with Plague, their health starts dropping. I think it does a total of how much damage does it do? Hold on, I gotta look this up.
Sure. Let's get the numbers.
Plague. Give me the entire number, please.
The mathematics.
Oh my gosh, what does... Come on. Just give me the whole number. But it deals a few hundred points of damage, right?
Okay.
But
that's decent bit.
Right. It does a few hundred damage, but it doesn't kill you.
In an AoE though, right?
It's an AoE attack that completely just keeps dropping the health of your everything that's affected, both buildings and units, and it doesn't kill you though. If you're at 1 health and you're plagued, you'll remain at 1 health. If you try to get healed by let's say a repair or a medic, the damage is still being dealt.
That's
so
evil.
you're not really getting any heals. Because Plague is still active and it's still doing damage to you. Okay? The second ability that also needs to be researched is Consume. And you may know about Consume because Viper exists in StarCraft 2, right? Viper has Consume?
Yeah. It gives you energy for life on another... right?
Yeah, on a friendly building, right?
Yeah.
That's a Consume word. Okay.
Or unit in StarCraft 2.
Yeah. Okay. So Consume in StarCraft 1, how it worked is that you just eat a friendly unit and you get a flat 50 energy, no matter what you consume.
No.
So you consume a pair of Zerglings, which is 50 minerals. Congratulations, you have 100 energy.
Oh man.
50 minerals for 100 energy. That's a sweet spanking deal.
Especially when that can be like hundreds of damage on like the entire enemy army, right?
Yeah, I mean, Plague is 150, so 3 Zerglings.
Ah, okay, 3.
So 75 minerals to do that much damage to your enemy. But the last ability, and this is the most important ability in the matchup, Dark Swarm. Okay.
Tell me about it.
All right. Dark Swarm creates this orange cloud where you target it, and any unit, both you and your enemies, any unit that is under that cloud takes no damage from ranged attacks.
Why?
They could only take damage from melee.
Why?
Okay? Think about how many things in the Terran army is melee.
SCV?
Yes! That's the only unit that is melee in the entire Terran army. Literally everything else is ranged. Okay?
CV Rush!
No, right, but the Terran army, primarily like the traditional like unit composition for Terrans, is medic marine, supplemented with siege tanks. So once Zerg survives the hive tech, and once they get defilers, and once they get consumed on those defilers, it is so freaking frustrating to fight against. It's like that's why I said it's like imagine Zerg is red and freaking Terran is blue. Because Zerg is trying to live until Dark Swarm.
Right.
Right, and it's just you're just delaying until you have this critical survivability unit, right? Which is like red trying to buy as much time in order to get like the Uber up, or like trying to rebuild their level 3 or something.
Right, or like just hold that point for a bit longer. Yeah.
Yeah, just hold that little point for longer until you have a certain amount of spawns, and you need to make sacrifice and you need to zone people out in order to get it. Oh, that unfortunate soldier.
I didn't get used on.
Yeah.
Bro, I got baited. No, it's alright. Carry on.
No, it's alright. Right. But I will tell you what counts as melee, right? Zerglings count as melee. Ultralists count as melee. The Lurker Spines count as melee. The Lurker Spines count as melee.
Isn't that like a burrowed ranged unit that's like it's
a burrowing ranged unit, but the game's code is considered a melee attack.
No.
So if you just get a bunch of Lurkers, right? You bury them, you burrow them, you put Dark Swarm over them, and all the Marines cry. It's like why? Why does this unit exist? It's not as bad versus like Defilers are still annoying for me because like Dragoons can't hit things that are under Dark Swarm. But like I still have Zealots and I still have Psystorm, so who cares? And Reavers, the Reaver like the freaking explosives that they have, the Scarabs count as melee in Brood War.
Oh, nice.
So like I have tools in order to deal with Dark Swarm. Terrans, not so much.
Alright.
Terrans have a substantial Terrans have a lot of problem dealing with but that's kind of the challenge that they have to deal with. But here's the thing. The Terran army is so strong. The Terran army is unbelievably scary compared to the Zerg. There are moments like if you're learning how to play Zerg and Brood War, right? One of the initial humps you have to get over is surviving until Defilers. That's one of the learning curves you have to get over if you're learning how to play Zerg, and particularly the Terran matchup. Because you're gonna have many moments where like you built the improper number of like sunken colonies, you built like the improper number of like Zerglings, or your muta control was like a little bit off, so your mutas died, and now the medic marine combo is like headed to your base, and then now you die before Defilers even pop out.
I see.
Yeah. So we'll like Defilers said, now you can start like taking some initiative, like real initiative.
So, what would some of like the same faction matchups look like? Like, what would Zerg look like there?
I mean, well, Zerg tends to be Zerg generally consists of a bunch of cheap but cost effective units, right? And it's all about quantity. But the thing is that once you have a sufficient quantity of those units, and because the units are so cheap, they generally pay for themselves. So you generally don't have to worry. Terran, generally speaking, is about synergy. Because if you remember from the Terran versus Protoss matchup, the Terrans need like vultures to complement the tanks. The freaking Goliaths to complement, to protect the tanks from whatever, or to fight carriers should carriers be on the table, which is his own animal. What is it? No. It's for the Marines. You can't just have the Marines. You also need medics in order to be with the Marines. You need Marines to be supplemented with science vessels, because the science vessels need to detect lurkers. They need to irradiate lurkers, and they also irradiate defilers. They could use like defensive matrix in order to like block an ultralisk or something. Right, so Terran is about there's a good degree of synergy when it comes to Terran, and Terran units also tend to be pretty glass cannony. Like, believe it or not, like the Starcraft 1 Zealot has more health than the Siege Tank.
Wait, what?
If you combine the shields of like the Zealot and combine it with the raw health that he has, it has more health than the tank.
That's very surprising to me.
Yeah. So the Siege Tank has 150 health. Zealot has 100 health and 60 shields. So if you're just talking, Zealots have more health than the tank by 10 points. And Zealots cost 100 minerals, and Siege Tank costs like 100 gas and like 150 minerals. Yeah. So Terran is like, and like Marines have like 40 health, but it's like they're so fragile. One bad lurker trap and you're done. So yeah. Terrans has these glass cannony units that you really need to control to a certain degree, and they all need to complement each other properly in order to be effective. Protoss is a little interesting because their units tend to take a lot of resources to build. They tend to take a lot of time, but the units tend to be very durable. They tend to be of higher quality, or they have like a certain special ability. Right. So like the Zealots, very durable. Dragoon, very durable. Dark Templar, very flimsy, but is permanently cloaked and could do a lot of melee damage. High Templar costs a lot of gas, but has a powerful Psi Storm. Arbiter, very expensive at gas, but has a lot of like really busted abilities, right?
Right.
And they tend to be very high quality units. And because of their high quality and because of durability, they can also be a little bit forgiving, because you can make like a couple maneuvering mistakes, but you'll still have your army, right? But also due to that, to a certain degree, you're also punished a little bit for playing badass Protoss, because all of your units are so valuable. Right? It's like if I'm playing Protoss versus Terran, if I lose all of my Dragoons, I'm sweating bullets. Like, oh god. If I lose a considerable amount of Zealots, I'm kind of okay actually. But if I lose, if I lose my Arbiter, if I lose a good chunk of my Dragoons, like I'm actually in a lot of trouble. If I'm playing carriers for some reason, I never played carriers, but if I'm playing carriers and I lost a considerable amount because I like mismaneuvered, the units versus the Goliaths, like I'm in trouble.
But you said that the Terrans they're less expendable though in that sense. Like they're stronger at full power.
They're glass cannony. You can describe like some of their composition as glass cannon. Because like if I get on top of the tank line, oh god, that tank line is so dead.
So it's like the Terrans like are a lot more individually unit focused. Like they're very focused on particular components, but then with the Protoss, like everything is kind of equally as valuable and painful to lose. Is that correct?
To an extent, right? Because it's like I can still do work. Right, the Zealots can still do work. Like, Zealots are so strong and they're so durable and they deal so much considerable amount of damage that even units that counter them on paper still struggle to beat them. Like Vultures do very well against Zealots. The Terran Vulture does very well against Zealots. They move very fast. They deal a lot of damage to the Zealots because of how damage works in the game. But if the Zealots get a good angle on the Vultures are all dead.
Okay.
Right, or it's like it also depends on execution too, right? Because like you can argue that there are counters to certain units, but I wouldn't really even call them counters. I would call them soft counters, and I think that's a better balancing than hard counters, because instead of playing rock paper scissors, you're playing I'm at a slight disadvantage but I can still fight my way out of this.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like I think that's what some people had a problem with regarding Starcraft 2, because from what I can understand, I don't know much about Starcraft 2, so I could be completely wrong, but in Starcraft 2, you had things that were like a lot more rock paper scissorsy. So it's like, okay, well, if you build a rock unit, I'm just gonna build a paper unit, right?
There's like a lot more abilities, definitely, from what I recall.
Yeah. But if I'm playing Protoss versus Terran, it's all of the units like have some sort of soft interaction with each other, right? Hey, tanks, they will kill. Tanks will kill your entire army unless I get on top of the tanks. You know, hey, vultures can destroy my zealots. Hey, but if my zealots can get a specific angle, I can beat the vultures, right? Tanks can destroy my dragoons, but once my dragoons get in range of the tanks and I start focus firing, hey, the dragoons are actually doing quite well, right? So it's not that the units are countering each other. It's just that the units have certain properties that interact. You know, it's like there are certain. You just simply have certain set of strengths and weaknesses, and it all depends on execution and context. And I think that's a significantly more that's a much better competitive experience than just like rock paper scissors.
Yeah, it's like a lot less heavy-handed. It's a lot more skill-based in that sense. A lot more like building the right armies rather than just like making X unit and to counter X thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the meta's pretty set in stone as far as like army composition is concerned, right? It's like like Protoss versus Terran again. It's hey, tank vulture, a little bit of Goliath, and a little bit of Science Fissile. Protoss is freaking Zealot, Dragoon, Arbiter. You know, it's like, hey, those are the units. You know, those are the units that we see. But the question I ask is, well, what's the context and what's the skill level of the two opponents, of the two players, right? Because there are moments where I fought a Terran army and I completely destroyed the Terran. You know, it was not even a contest. I wiped out his entire take line. I start knocking on his front door. He leaves the game. Hey, but there are moments where I'm always on the back foot. I'm always under pressure. It always seems like I can never get on top of his tanks, right? Right. It's just like TF2. You're going to have moments where you can completely demolish the enemy combo, right? But there are also moments where it seems like the enemy combo is completely untouchable. Why? It's the same classes. It's the same weapons. What's the difference? It's the skill of the practitioners.
Right. A skill issue sometimes.
It is It is a skill issue. Because the thing is it's about the execution, not like I built a specific unit to counter your unit. It's a lot more based on how you use the units and how well you understand the interactions between all of them. And that's the interesting thing.
And that's what goes away a bit in StarCraft 2?
I from what I can understand, like I said, I don't know much about StarCraft, so I could be talking out of my rear here, and maybe some StarCraft 2 guy is going to come here and say I'm completely wrong, and you know what? I'll freely admit that I'm wrong. But one of the complaints that I've kind of heard on the grapevine regarding regarding StarCraft 2 was that it became a little rock paper scissorsy.
And that's
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that's something you can get out of like a lot of RTSs in comparison. Like it's not really something unique to StarCraft, yeah.
Yeah, and from what I can understand, like Overwatch has the same problem of like rock paper scissors.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, like that's the interesting thing about TF2 compared to Overwatch, right? Because it's like in TF2 you have soft counters. Like you have a lot more soft counters than you have hard counters, right? Because it's like Spy can sap my stuff, and you know Spy can do a variety of things. But hey, if I'm a good engineer player, I can maneuver around it, right?
Right.
You know, hey, Pyro has air blast, right? And, you know, like, well, hypothetically speaking, just on paper, right? It seems like the soldier is screwed, but no, you know? Right? It depends on how well you can air blast and how well the soldier can aim.
Right? Like, there's always going to be some counterplay.
Right. So it's not necessarily like the air blast isn't like a hard counter, it's a soft counter. It's not an instant win button versus a soldier. And I'm pretty sure, like you as a guy who's played Pyro for a considerable amount of time, I'm sure you met plenty of soldiers where you just can't air blast them.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right? They're so difficult to reflect, but at the same time, you've seen soldiers where you just completely clobber with a reflect, right? And it all goes back to the context. It all goes back to execution. It's whoever is piloting the class, and that's what lasts you a while, not rock paper scissors.
Right, it's very individualized in that case.
And it allows the skill of the individual to shine, because it's like when you meet a soldier that can completely, like, says F you to your air blast and just completely demolishes you, you actually feel like a bit of respect for that guy, right? Because he was technically getting soft countered. You had tools you had tools that were, essentially designed to, work against him, yet he overcame you. Right?
Right.
Right. It's like I don't know, like scout, you can argue that the scout is a hard counter to sniper, but if you're a really good sniper, you could just quick scope the guy. Right? It's like, the scout's speed at a small hitbox might, in a sense, be a counter to the sniper, but it's not a hard counter. It's more like a I don't know, like a medium counter, if you will.
Moderate counter.
Moderate counter. Like the sniper still has a lot of. Sniper can still counterplay, and a skilled sniper can make quick work of a scout that's not moving properly. It's like, hey, a really good spy can make quick work of a pyro that's not paying attention. Right, and it's those types of interactions that makes. I personally think that makes TF2 a particularly nice game to play.
Absolutely, coming as a Starcraft player from the sounds of it, all those sorts of little counterplays and interactions.
Yeah, because it's not this unit counters. It's not like this is the paper unit and this is the scissors unit. It's these units have properties. These units have a certain. They have things that are good at, and they have things that are bad at. They have these sets of tools, and how well can you utilize those tools, and how well do you understand the interactions that the units have with each other during specific contexts?
Yeah, like it's less about just picking the right character, and it's more about making use of the character that you're provided with tool set.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. Oh, this poor freaking dude.
I got a little bamboozled.
It was so oblivious.
I know.
I was like staring up to the abyss.
Poor engineer. His gun did get revenge, though.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, but anyways, yeah, that's what I like about Brood War. It's just it's all the execution and the interaction,
right.
And the clunky and the overall like clunkiness and the quirkiness of the game itself also contributes, right? Because you can only control 12 units at a time.
Right, and that's something Starcraft 2 doesn't really have.
Yeah, it doesn't really have, because what ended up happening, the 12 unit control actually led to a lot of positive benefits for Starcraft, because it ended up making fights a lot more dynamic. Right? Because in Starcraft 2, like the fights generally tend to be like one death ball versus another death ball.
So there's like much less chance for human error, much less chance for like individual skill to shine.
Yeah, because like there's a player named Bisu, right? And Bisu is considered the best Protoss player of all time. Second place goes to Stork, but Bisu was the king of multitasking. Like one commentator said, watching Bisu play feels like watching 4 players operate simultaneously.
Wow.
Yeah. Bisu was multitasking king. There was a time where he was like playing against a top tier Zerg, and here was all the stuff he was doing. He was fighting with his main army versus his opponent's main army. He was doing like Dark Templar attacks on 2 separate locations, flying around with his Corsairs, and still managing his base. He's doing all of this. He's setting fire to like 7 different locations. And the Zerg is just like scrambling around trying to put them all out. Yeah,
topical.
No. Yeah, but like he's the king of multitasking. He's just so blindingly fast.
Right.
And there was a guy who visited like a team house, and he saw Bisu play in person. And this person said that Bisu had the fastest screens. And what I mean by that is that he was able to see like to see like the battlefield or whatever was on his screen, right? Process all of the information and switch to a different location, and he does that in less than a second.
Wow.
He had the fastest screens compared to like other autistic Korean pro players, you know? And like he just able to like look at a screen, realize like see a cloaked Dark Templar and just switch back.
A lot of individual talent.
Yeah, that's see that's where like his talent shines, because he's a multitasker. Stork is he's a very sturdy player. On the Stork is a very very sturdy player. He may not be as fast as but he's very very stable, and he's able to make his strength lies in his more so in his decision making than his speed. Right, so it's like I don't know. I don't know if you like was it Green Beret that he was a sniper that was like looking for angles, right?
Yeah,
and he was thinking more so about like what he was doing rather than just raw mechanics, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So like Andrew would kind of be like Stork in a sense, because it's like, yeah, I may not be as fast, and I might not have like the blinding mechanical skills like some of my peers have, but I make good decisions. I have good positioning. I'm very patient. I understand the map. I understand the matchup very well.
Yeah, so all kind of just like counters and balances.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just like that's how individual skills can shine, and if you give the players the right tools to do it, right, and that again, soft counter versus hard counter. You want more soft counters than there are hard counters in a game. It allows the individual to shine, whatever skill that they have.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's always better to have it be a bit more natural and decided by player agency, I'd imagine.
Yeah, because whatever Bisu does or whatever Stork does is out of agency, and it allows you. It just allows you to, and depending on what skill set you have, it allows you to do different things in game. Right, Stork really loves his carriers, but carriers is not only a mechanical challenge, but it's also a decision making challenge. Right, because you have to be very careful how your carriers engage. Bisu, on the other hand, he does a lot of fancy things with his Corsairs versus Zerg. You know, he does a lot of like very vicious like timing attacks. He does all of these very funky, like funky attacks that requires mechanical finesse. Right, and so because Bisu has his ability, he can do certain things, and because Stork has certain abilities, he can do certain things. Right. I'll send you like a couple first person like VODs of freaking Bisu playing, and I guess you could use this as B-roll footage later. But
sure.
Let's see. This is like a 50-minute slugfest that Bisu had with another Zerg. And then this is a 3-minute video of Bisu doing like very difficult. You can look at that. I think you can watch the 3-minute video first.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So he's freaking. So this is actually his point of view, right? He's like stepping back and forth with his dragoons. That's a spider mine that's popping up. So you have to actually push like a very specific sequence of buttons and fast forward in order to make that happen. And yep, he gets it. Oh no, he messed up a little bit there, right? But he's doing all this micro. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you may also realize that he's like clicking the enemy units, or like he went to his gateway, he went to his probe, right? He built a probe right there. He clicked the cybernetics core. He's checking all this stuff while he's doing all this tech. He's doing all of this.
So, are there any like multi like race matchups? Like, are there like more like a 2v2, 3v3 modes with like very interesting racial matchups, or not really?
I don't. So I do know that a 2v2 scene kind of exists, but that's more in like non-Korean countries.
I see, and there's like a bit of a divide between Korean and non-Korean countries when.
Yeah, it's because like, oh boy, that's another can of worms actually. Like Koreans versus everyone else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's like there's a lot of debate, and this isn't just like oh yeah. By the way, him killing all these tanks, that's crucial. Remember how I said that they're throttled by the tanks, right?
Yeah.
Look at how much damage the Terran lost because of all those tanks are gone. Like those Dragoons aren't taking any damage whatsoever. He killed out those tanks. He needs to rebuild all those tanks again, and because it's the early game, he does not have the infrastructure nor the resource income in order to make this happen. Yeah, he just picking off the mines again. That's very hard to do. And you realize that he's also managing his base. Yep, he does it again.
Always on the offensive.
Yeah, he's always on the offensive. And if you just look at the bottom of the screen, he's like building all this stuff while he's doing this. He's doing all this. Okay. So right. So it's always been prevalent in history that the Koreans are the best StarCraft performers, and people ask the question as to why. And people have a variety of theories, right? It's like is it because of the prominence of these players, right? Because it's like because the theory goes that because StarCraft pro gamers during this time enjoyed a mild level of celebrity success, that motivates people to do better. So if we here in like Europe or the Americas, or North America, if we enjoyed the same amount of income, if we enjoyed the same amount of fame, we do well as well. That's one theory. The other theory is infrastructure, because the theory goes that because do you know what a PC bang is?
A what?
A PC bang.
No.
Okay, so a PC bang is like okay, so when you go to LAN, there's like a bunch of computers, right?
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of computers. Imagine he taps out. He's done.
GG.
Yeah, no, it's just but like I said, you need a specific type. You need a specific like style of multitasking. This is just background footage. Let's just watch Bisu.
Yeah.
Which is extremely fast. This is a slugfest. But right. So imagine like a business or a store that's like a LAN all the time. You can walk in. You can pay like an hourly rate for a computer, and then you could just play. And then like there's like an area where you can like there's like a storefront where you can order like coffee, ramen, and all of that stuff, and you can order snacks.
Right, so it's like localhost TF2 stuff, kind of. Okay.
Yeah, but it's like it's a business that's doing this, a small business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have StarCraft, or you don't have a good computer, or like you just want to hang out with your friends, right? You just want to do a little LAN with your friends. You go to a PC bang and you just play. And it's really cool. But people think that the infrastructure was responsible because you had these people who were going to the PC bang, so they thought that was the case. That's another theory. And then another theory that people have is the money theory. StarCraft Brood, where a lot of the companies were paid by top-level telecommunications organizations. Like SK Telecom is a very decorated team, and they were paid by a telecommunications company. Like imagine like I don't know, freaking like Froyo being sponsored by Verizon, right? Like I don't know, like some other companies paid by AT&T or something, right? It's like that's kind of the level that we're talking about, and like another company's paid by Rolster, another company's like paid by Woojin or something. But that was the theory. That was also the theory. It's like, oh well, they have all these sponsors. That's the reason why they're so good. It's like, well, that's another theory. But the theory that I'm most inclined to believe is the culture theory. The culture theory as to why the Koreans are good. By the way, ignore the weirdos. Like you got weirdos that say like, oh, it's a genetic thing. It's like a racial thing. It's like we ignore those people. We don't talk about that. It's not true. But the main theory is the theory, at least the theory that I subscribe to, is the culture theory, which is it's the work ethic that happens to be within Asian countries that are responsible for their success. Right? Because one person, I believe it was Jadon, one of the best Zerg players. He was talking about like the esports team houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He was talking about his experience at a team house, and I don't know if he was describing like a freaking I don't know if he was describing like a house or like those Chinese like sweat houses where they like make RuneScape money. Because he was talking about how the only thing you were allowed to do was play StarCraft in the team house. You're not allowed to browse. You're not allowed to browse the internet. You're not allowed to play any other games. You're not allowed to surf the web. The only thing that was acceptable, the only thing that was allowed to be on your screen is StarCraft. You eat, sleep, poop, StarCraft, and that's your life.
That does not sound that enjoyable.
That see, like, hey, you want to know how to ruin your hobby, make it a career. But like some team houses were a lot more lax. Like, for example, like some I think it was the SK Telecom house that required all of their pro gamers to lift. Like they're like all of you gamers, go to the gym now. All of you. Okay? Because if your body is good, then your play is going to be good. If you feel good, if you look good and you feel good and you're healthy, you're going to do better. Not really a controversial thing to say and a very respectable thing to do, right? Yeah, it's like some team houses encouraged their gamers to work out and stay hydrated. But another example of their like work ethic was there was a dual interview between like Bisu and Jaedong, right? The Bisu, the guy you're watching right now, and Jaedong, the guy who basically described the dystopian nightmare, which is like one of the StarCraft team houses. But what I distinctly remember from this dual interview is that when these two players tried to like one up each other, they didn't brag. They didn't try to one up each other with titles. You know how people are, right? It's like when they try to one up each other, they're like, oh, wait, is this a one base? Holy crap, he's doing oh my gosh, I just realized he was doing a one base. This is so unusual. You generally don't open like this. Oh, okay, sorry.
That's it.
I just realized how bizarre this opening is. Sorry. Okay. What was I saying? Right. So you know how like generally when people like one up each other, people talk crap about each other, it's like, I won this medal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I won this medal, like I won plat or I won gold, right? Bisu and Jaedong would brag about how hard they work. They would brag, they would try to one up each other on their work ethic. Like Bisu, like I don't remember like who said what, but like one of the players goes like, oh, the interviewer's like asking them like, so like what's your practice like, and one player's like, oh, I practice for 8 hours a day, and then the other player kind of like scoffs and goes, 8 hours, you're kidding me, I practice for 10, what are you, a casual? And then the other guy goes like, yeah, but when a big tournament's coming up, I crank it up to 14. And I think that sort of response is extremely indicative of why Bisu and Jaedong are so successful as gamers. And this kind of goes beyond like competitive games itself. Like this goes back to like just kind of success in general, right? Because if you want something, or if you want to be the best at it, you better be willing to pour everything into it, or at the very least invest a large amount of time. Yeah. No, that's the thing that impressed me, and that's the thing that stood out to me. They bragged about their practice. They were boastful about their practice, their work ethic, the effort that they were putting in. Of course, they were talented, but they wouldn't have reached that point if it wasn't for their hard work. And I think that was like the main thing that was going on. Like at least like the major cultural difference, and that's sort of like ride or die culture. Because also the other thing is that this may be a little bit like a misunderstanding of Korean culture, despite being born there. But once you become a professional gamer, it's all in. Like you cannot back out of it. It is very difficult for you to like back out of being an esports gamer. So you're going all in on this. It's either you ride or die in StarCraft. And I think it's like that sort of environment. I think it's that sort of environment, kind of all of that pressure upon you that made these players so good too. Because imagine like your life had to be like TF2. Wouldn't you try to be the best at it as possible? Like you would pour every second of your life into it, right?
Yep. 12 pugs a day.
Yeah, or maybe like 12 pugs a day might not even be enough for you.
24 pugs a day, one for each hour.
Yeah, but you get the idea, right? It's like it's like you would put, because the stakes are so much higher and it's so much more cutthroat. I think that like psychologically influenced the players to try just to put more time and effort into it, and just combine hard work ethic. Yeah, you're gonna get results like that. And again, this is not like a racial thing. It's just culture. It's just how people behave. Right? It's like you see this. You see this. It's not just Koreans that have it's not Koreans that have this like hard work ethic. Like I've seen people of all sorts of like nationalities have great work ethics when I was in school. Right? So it's clearly like anybody from any country can excel. They just have to put the time and the effort.
That's a good message.
It just happens to be that like when it comes to Starcraft, the Koreans were putting a lot of effort into it. It just happens to be,
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think I'm about ready to shift the topic from Starcraft, unless you have anything more you want to touch upon.
I mean, the topic of Starcraft might come up again if we ever discuss maps, like map decisions in like Starcraft, or like map pool decisions, if you will. Because I don't know.
Okay.
Because Starcraft, the competitive Starcraft like leagues have done strange things with maps before. But if you want to move on to a different thing, hey, I'm fine too. It's like I've been talking about Starcraft for a while.
Yeah, probably like 45 minutes or so, maybe longer.
No, at least an hour for sure.
Yeah, probably an hour 10 maybe. So it sounds like, yeah, just sort of like the individuality in the gameplay, like that was one of your inspirations for having interest in TF2, yeah?
I guess so, or I was just under the impression that Engineer was like it felt very individualistic, and with the Engineer in particular, it was because he felt a lot like a strategy. It felt like I was playing a strategy game.
Right. Okay. So how do you end up having interest in kind of getting into competitive?
Well, I think this is just like, I think it's just because of me as a person, because I always kind of try hard, It's like throughout my life, it's like, well, if I'm not the top of my class in middle school, if I'm not the top of my class in my high school, if I don't have the toppest grades, like I failed, right? So I think that sort of attitude kind of permeated. Oh god, those poor hydralisks. Okay, sorry.
Outside.
It's no. I think that sort of thing kind of permeated, because I started being curious about like what's it like? What are the top engineers like? What are the best TF2 players doing? Surely there's like a bit of a competitive scene, and I look around and I discover Highlander, and my first season is in UGC season 12 Iron. But I was aware of like I have two accounts, by the way, but it's like yeah season 12 Iron. My competitive record is nothing to write home about, as you can see, but it's just a lot of life things that are happening. But yeah, season 12 Iron is when I first started, and I was aware of Highlander even before that, because a lot of I just didn't have time, and when I got into college, I even had less. So it's like, what would you rather be? Would you rather be an engineer in a video game, or would you rather be an engineer in real life? And I chose the latter.
I would choose a video game. Your legacy stands forever. If an engineer in real life, you're just another name.
I don't want to get stuck in Platinum / Invite, which I wrote as Virgin Hell. Skill floor hell, meta hell. Oh my gosh, I haven't
Friend zone hell. Damn.
I haven't looked at that in a while. Anyways, no, but
you gotta dust off that profile, son.
No, I got my like quippy remarks. I got my competitive history. I got my quote wall. I think I'm pretty happy with how it is.
Yeah.
What the hell? Right. So I started looking like Oh yeah, that's B&H Paul, by the way.
Yep,
The guy
B&H
who has,
Paul.
It has pictures sometimes.
Exclamation point.
Exclamation. What was it? Right. So I started looking into like UGC and whatnot. So I signed up. One day. I got on the team. We were doing pretty well until coal plant week came, and then we kind of fell apart. Yeah. So I was kind of interested for a very long time, but even if I wasn't the most active player or I wasn't the most high profile player, I certainly was kind of like a person who sits in like the bleachers, just kind of watching.
Right.
Right, and I just kind of observe. Since I'm not doing a lot of playing, I guess I did a considerable amount of observing.
Okay.
Right, so it's like I'm not. Yeah, no, that's kind of it, and that's kind of why I wrote the. I guess that's what made me write the massive essays in the first place. It's just sorry. Since I'm not playing the game a lot, I think about the game, and then I make observations about the game, and then I start putting things together, and that's kind of how these things culminate.
And a lot of that was kind of like synthesized from your past experiences with Starcraft, yeah?
Well, I mean, the Starcraft thing. Okay, so I suppose Starcraft helped because the Pioneers and Dimensions one, which is the one that I wrote in 2018, if I remember. Yeah, 2018.
February.
Yeah. When I wrote that, I was kind of sort of getting into Starcraft, but actually no, I don't think I got into Starcraft until like mid 2018. So this may be a little bit before this might be a little bit before Starcraft.
I see.
Yeah. I only mentioned Starcraft twice in this essay, which is just like, hey.
It's the second one where you mentioned it more.
Yeah, the second, so the second one was like after I spent a considerable amount of months, like considerable amount of time playing Starcraft Brood War.
Right.
So that's when I started making more observations because I started playing different games. But yeah. Oh man, as far as those is concerned, if I remember, you wanted to talk about like how I made them, or like what the process is.
Yeah,
or,
sort of like what was the inspiration
okay.
every step of the way, how you drew those conclusions, stuff like that.
Well,
looking at that's gonna be a ton to go into, though, so I'm not entirely sure on that front.
Yeah, sure. So I'll tell you what got me inspired. Believe it or not, what got me inspired to do this was a League of Legends coach. A League of Legends coach, and so there's a League of Legends coach named LS, and I've been following kind of like sporadically on and off for like at least 5 years, and he's like, I think he's one of the smartest people in esports, at least in my opinion. And he made a video called "Man vs. Machine: The West versus the Best," and this is when he was talking about the competitive history of Starcraft Brood War. And he was talking about the major figures. Unfortunately, he didn't make a part 2, which talks about like man, he was about to talk about the Bisu revolution, because Bisu started a revolution in Starcraft. Yeah, for the freaking Bisu revolution, Protoss mains rise up. Right. So I thought that was interesting, and then and then I thought about it. I thought about kind of like the timeline, or the story of the competitive history of engineer mains. And the other thing that he mentioned was one of the people that he LS talked about was a very particular player named Savior, and Savior has an article about him. And that's what inspired me to write a massive nerd essay, because there's an essay about the Starcraft player Savior, and I'll link that to you, and you can kind of scroll down and see it for yourself.
Sure.
Let me just send you the DM. Right. So yeah, it's called God of the Battlefield, and that's part 1. There's a eventually there was a part 2 later, but you could just kind of scroll down to see like the sheer quantity of content of this article. Team Liquid final edits, right? And it was talking about Savior, and which is a which is a very 200 IQ individual. And I actually talk about him in my unorthodox engineering essay. But this is the guy. This is the guy that, or like, this is the content that really inspired me to like write massive things about, like, kind of like this analytical stuff about the TF2 engineer.
Okay.
Yeah. Man, Savior is a very, oh man. Zerg during Savior's era, just to like kind of give you the TLDR of what makes Savior so special. There was a period of time where the Zerg versus Terran matchup was extremely lopsided, right? Like if you see like some of the examples that he's giving you, look at, like, now take a look at their counterparts, Yellow, July, Go Rush, and Jadong. You realize that their win percentage are like, that's actually not very stellar if you compare it to like the Terrans. Like, you know, if you look at the paragraph first examined Boxer, Nada, I Love Oof, and Flash. Yeah, I Love Oof. That's not a typo. He really did have a 37-0 record over Zerg. Right, but the Zerg were, and then but here's the thing: July, Yellow, Go Rush, Jadong, those were the exceptions. Those were the guys in the 60s. Competitive Zergs on average had like a 30 to 40% win rate versus Terran, but Savior was getting 80%. That's staggering. Like, all of these Zerg mains were just like licking off crumbs off the bottom of the table, but this guy's eating like a king. Right?
Feasting.
It was phenomenal, because it's like, this was the, generally speaking, like, for the most part, Starcraft pros don't go to like Blizzard and demand a balance patch. You know, it's like, you know how like TF2 players, we always complain about weapons, right?
Yeah.
We always complain about weapon balancing. It's like, you know, like Volvo or Gaben needs to change this or needs to change that or whatever, right? It was like, this is busted, this is stupid, this is underpowered. Starcraft players generally didn't levy those complaints at Blizzard. But this era of Zerg getting crushed by Terrans, this was the one time where they contemplated on contacting Blizzard for a balance patch. But Savior came along and completely crushed these Terran giants. And he did that by basically, like, he basically rebuilt the meta. He completely rebuilt the meta as far as the matchup is concerned. And if you think of it like, if you think about in terms of like ancestors, you know, like, the genes are like passed down, right? You know, you got the forefather, and the forefather passes down his genes to like the subsequent generations, right?
Right.
Even so you saw that the date was like 2005 and 2007, right? Even today, the meta builds of Zerg versus Terran uses this guy's innovation as its core genetic code.
That's quite
2007. 2007. More than 10 years later, this guy's impact is still felt today in the matchups. Versus a matchup that was super lopsided. Even the maps weren't on his side. The maps were favored towards Terran.
Maps, huh?
Yeah, but he overcame it all. He reinvented the matchup, essentially, to put it very simply.
Could you talk to me a bit more about like the maps in StarCraft, sort of how they work out, what the design philosophy is like?
Yeah. So the design philosophy is that you for StarCraft maps, you need to be able to take a natural. You need to make sure that all races are able to contain. The 87% win rate, right? All of the Zergs 25%, Savior 87%. On maps that are lopsided in favor of Terran.
And what makes the map like favored or unfavored to different races? Like, why are these maps Terran favored?
I don't exactly. I can't give you the exact rundown, but generally speaking, it has to do with the amount of resources that all the races can access, and the number of expansions on the map, and how open the map is. You don't want maps. You want certain choke points. You don't want certain choke points. You have to make sure that 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 every single race can like comfortably secure a natural expansion. I don't know too much about maps, but like I could talk about like when I said I wanted I could talk about like StarCraft maps. It's what StarCraft does. It's what competitive StarCraft does to their map pool. And
Sure.
it kind of reminds me of like the conversation you had with like I think it was Vivis Varia or like Rorik. We were talking about maps and new maps, right?
Yeah.
What StarCraft does, and I think Argel's kind of doing this as well, is that in the ESL, the Africa Star League, which is kind of the big league nowadays, every season, pretty much every season, they do one of the following: they introduce new maps. They have like a super experimental map, or they resurrect an old map. So like in a somewhat recent ASL, they resurrected Hitchhiker, the map called Hitchhiker, and guess what? Hitchhiker was played in Savior's era, which is back in 2005, 2007. It's like we're in the decade of 2020, but they're playing Hitchhiker, a very old map. Sometimes they do an experimental map. There was a map called Sparkle, and Sparkle was an island map. Imagine a TF2 island map. Like one day RGL is like, week 4 we're gonna play an island map. You need a teleporter to like get from like point A to point B, or like you can only like double jump or rocket jump or like sticky jump over there.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Sparkle wasn't received very well for a variety of reasons, but so since Sparkle was like that was a little too radical, a little too out there. So people make semi-island maps, which is like you had all of these islands, quote unquote, but they're connected by a bridge, and the bridge has like certain special properties. Like there's I think the map was called Lost Coven, and you had all of these bases and all of these like quote unquote islands, but they had bridges connected to them. And the bridges, and the interesting thing about the bridges is that units that are on the bridge cannot attack. But if they get off the bridge, they can attack again. Right? So that's how it's kind of like a semi-island. Like your units can still cross, but it's very risky to cross it.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Like it's a sight line.
Yeah, it's like a sight line. Right. It's like difficult to cross. Sometimes they'll release a map that's actually like pretty standard map design, but they'll put a twist to it. So there was a map called Whiteout, and this was super interesting. Whiteout Brood War. Okay, come on. I'm just gonna send you like the picture of the map itself. Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay, so the map, okay, it looks like this, right? It kind of looks like the radioactive symbol, right? So you know how there's like these 3 quadrants or like these 3 sectors that has like trees in them, like these snowy pine trees. Okay, this is a fairly standard like 3-player 3 spawn location map design, but ground units in those sectors have their vision reduced. Air units have full vision. So this led to like interesting strategies. Like you would hide all of your units in like the trees, and when the enemies come, you would get like air support so they can have vision, so they can shoot from the trees, but the enemies can't shoot back at them because they're technically in cover. Or you would have instances where like air units are suddenly getting high priority in these skirmishes and these fights. But the map was standard enough that you could still play around it. It wasn't something that was completely bizarre. You would have things like that, and it was even in the standard map pool. But it's like a lot of these things are like kind of interesting, which is like or another thing that these big leagues will do is that they will make a meta map, but just like slightly modified. So just imagine like I don't know, RGL, instead of playing Product, they play a map that's kind of like Product instead. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, we're not going to play Product, but instead we're going to play this other King of the Hill map that isn't exactly like Product, but has the same feeling. Right? So it's not radically different, but it's different. It's like, I don't know, it strikes this balance of like having some kind of difference, but at the same time still pertaining to what everybody is comfortable with. I don't know. I just want more maps like CP Steel. I don't know.
No, it's fair.
I just want more CP Steel maps than
Okay.
TF2.
Where did we leave off before we jumped into this tangent?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we were talking about
good.
why this inspired me by my autistic ramblings on the internet.
Yes.
All right, so I saw this, and then the idea came about like me making stuff for Engineer. I've kind of wanted to make content for Engineer, but making content for Engineer is actually very challenging. And the reason for that is Uncle Date exists. Like he makes such like high quality content that it's like, why are you competing against him? Oh, you wanna make a video on the Frontier Justice? Uncle Dane did that, and he'll probably do it better than you. Oh, you want to make a video on the Gunslinger? Uncle Dane already did that. He's probably gonna do it better than you. I want to talk about Upward. Uncle Dane made a video on that, and it's a quality video. It's like, if you want to make content for NG, you better do something different, right? But that's like one reason. But another reason is I just had a lot of passion for the class, and I think about the game. I had periods of time where I just think about not just like the game, but like meta game and overarching strategy in general. That fascinates me, right? So I just like when I walk around, when I go from like class to class, or when I'm taking a walk outside, or when I'm just kind of sitting around doing nothing, I think about the game. I don't do that as much now, but when I'm in like the writing mood, that's what I do a lot. So all of these thoughts accumulate, and I start tossing ideas in my head. And because I've been cursed with Asperger's syndrome, my brain won't stop spinning. So that's essentially what happened. So I started thinking, the video of Man vs. Machine, West versus the Best, where Alice was talking about the various people within Starcraft's history, and I started thinking about the history of TF2 engineer mains, and that's how the first essay came about.
Okay. Let's see. How did you sort of reach the conclusions that you did each step of the way?
Well, I thought about engineers because, remember, I'm not like season 12 Iron was like a very long time ago, but it's not like super ancient. Like if you want to talk to someone who's ultra ancient, like basically fossil fuel, you can talk to Hammock. He's been playing since like Engineer couldn't pick up his buildings. Because you know like when TF2 was first released, Engineer couldn't pick up his buildings, right?
Yeah,
he's been playing since then. So it's like, if you want to talk to somebody like super ancient that is like not even a dinosaur, like a fossil fuel, it's like you can talk to that guy. But I just kind of like thought about engineers that were kind of impactful throughout the years, right? And originally, like there were 4 pioneers in this essay, but there was originally like 3. There was originally 3, and then I increased it to 4, and then like I removed a guy and then I added a guy, right? So like because it's like, okay, I have these 4 people. I had these 3 people. Well, wait, there was this other engineer that also did something, and I think the addition of this player really adds things together. Okay, you know what? I don't think this guy really belongs here. I don't think he really fits the qualification. So I remove him and I put a different guy in, and I really think about the impact that these players made. And once I thought about the impact, that's when the idea of like the dimensions came around. Like dimension 1, dimension 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's where those came around. So like first I talked about like the timeline, and I really thought about what they did, and I even had small like DM interactions with some of the people. Like Dave Plus, I still have him on my friends list. And there was a period of time where I was messaging him about a couple questions. Eventually, Sigafu is a little bit unreachable. I mean, he's Sigafu. So, but it didn't really matter because Sigafu had a YouTube channel and he had videos where he talks about his mindset. So that's what I needed. there was Game Master. I reached out and I talked to him, and then Spamfest. Actually, like despite the fact that Spamfest is there, Spamfest doesn't need a lot of explanation as to why. Doesn't need doesn't need a lot of explanation of the presence. Because Spamfest is like very simple to explain in the context of this. All right. So I kept thinking about it, and then I started expanding upon it. I let the ideas cook in my head. And then I also like write kind of like rough draft notes, just like bullet points on like a Word document. All right, and I kind of like remove things and I add things. I mull over the details and I continuously think about them. I make like an overarching outline. Whenever I start this, like I'm working on a third one. When I get to this, the unorthodox one, and then the one I'm working on right now, I have a general like overarching roadmap of what I want to write about and the order that I'm going to do it in. And then from there, I start adding a bunch of stuff. And then I start expanding on the idea. And sometimes a completely new idea comes around. So I originally wanted to talk about the pioneers that I've listed, but then the idea of the dimensions came around because I realized the more I thought about it, the more I realized that a lot of competitive engineers or just kind of engineers in general fall into these areas or fall in these archetypes.
Okay.
So that's kind of like how this came along. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of this stuff is just sort of like things you'd kind of want to like read and contextualize on your own. I think there's a lot of things we could talk about, but I think a lot of it is really like more meant for text. I think there's only so much that we could properly do justice on in video. And also, I am literally going to fall asleep if we spend like all night going into like every single part of the essays.
Yeah, I mean it's 12:22, and you know what, we could always like arrange another like an episode 2 or something if you want me to talk about specific
That's
things.
True. But no, it's definitely fair. A lot about just getting people like getting it into groups, kind of understanding it on a more strategic level.
Yeah, and the thing is that this isn't even like you can describe them as archetypes, but you could also describe them as like a philosophy or schools of thought, because philosophies and ideas is like one of the most powerful things on the planet. It's whether we like it or not, and whether we acknowledge it or not, we're all possessed by an idea or a philosophy. And sometimes the philosophies that we have on our heads come from people who thought of them like hundreds or even thousands of years ago. And the thing about this is that ultimately the dimensions are ideas, or like the mindset that you have when you're playing, right? It's because that's the thing that I realized about engineer players in general. Because I started interacting with people, and sometimes when I see like an engineer player that I see something doing interesting, I just like go up to him and it's like, "You dissection table right now." It's like, and then the guy's like, "Get who are you? Get away from me." Right? But that's what I realized, because perhaps I don't know how much you have interacted with engineer mates, but I realized that people fall in the three non-zero dimensions, or they fall in the combination of the three, right? When I was talking to when I talked to Grin, their primary focus is DN, right? It's all about damage. It's all about the aim. It's all about like being mobile and doing a lot of damage, and that has its own sense of effectiveness. That would be Dimension 1, which is damage meta. It's the simplest, but it's also very, very effective. And the thing about Dimension 1 is that it's very easy to quantify, right? You just have to go exclamation log, and you can see the accuracy. You can see the damage that you deal. You can see the kills that you've acquired on certain targets, right? So you have engineers that are very damage oriented, that have a very damage oriented mindset. I'm pretty sure you've seen them before, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right, or like just really good scouts that just start playing engineer, like congratulations, you played the game long enough that you're not dimension zero. Like you don't really need to watch an Uncle Dave video to play NG, but your mechanics are good enough that it automatically permeates your playstyle. Right. So when it comes to that, sorry, it's like something's wrong with my throat. When it comes to that, it's like the internalization of damage, because once you realize that you have strength, you also like how you kind of maneuver around things is also based around the strength that you have, because in that Engineer.tf video on PL Swiftwater, there's a discussion of many centuries when defending third and fourth, right? But where does that mindset exactly come from? Right. Well, a mindset that can procure that can conjure up such an idea is if you have excellent DM, if you're used to mobility, all right. If the raw numbers that are popping up in your screen is of critical importance, right? Because not anybody could just do many centuries on payload defense. That is not a desperate last play.
Hey guys.
Let's take a quick look at this. This is talking about them on Swift 4th, I think.
This is a Sigafit video. It says skip to 10:09.
Oh yeah, skip to 10:09.
Yeah, I can't like the timestamp thing doesn't work on here.
Sad.
What did I don't remember like every single detail that I put on, but let's see this.
I believe this one's just talking about... No, but the central idea here is that because you have good DM, having good mechanics allows you to do more things that you normally couldn't have. Like I have this mindset that you truly haven't unlocked weapons like the Frontier Justice or the Widowmaker unless you have good DM. You haven't actually unlocked the Frontier Justice. Here we go.
Here we go. Okay, yeah, we could just have this rolling as I keep blabbering on about my shenanigans. But right. So there was that tree always there so far?
Not in the modern day.
Okay, not in the modern. Okay. Right. But like all the stuff that Sigafit is doing, right? Like building there, like flanking around and whatnot. Like all of this wouldn't be possible if he had bad DM. If he had bad DM, he wouldn't be doing any of this. Right, or at the very least, he would be putting himself at a severe disadvantage, right? Because in order for you to do certain things, you need a certain set of skills, and Sigafit has a certain amount of skills in order to do it, right? So, and as far as like dimensions are concerned, you can have people of different schools of thought coming to the same conclusion, and many centuries on defense is a good example, and I'll talk about how people could come to that conclusion once I talk about the other dimensions. Sigafit was very, very damage oriented. He was a very, for lack of better words, he was a very muscular player. You know, he's just able to. He basically just arm wrestles you, and the impact that he made was, he was basically the guy who really brought the DM of the engineer to the forefront. And I think I write this in the last paragraph where he's basically the most influential. He's the pioneer that had the most impact. The most overall impact in the game for as far as engineers are concerned. I think you can see that in the culture like today, right? Because a lot of engineers will agree that you need good DM now.
Oh yeah,
like way back in the day, people would talk about DM, but it's like people would talk about building placement a little bit more, like game sets a little bit more, like rhythm or whatever. But after Sigafit came around, like I noticed a lot of people were starting to take DM seriously, and you had scout mates that were like switching to NG now. It was like super weird. Like the SAR used to be a scout player, but there was a time where he was playing NG for a silver team and he was doing well. And, you know, that's the impact that he made, right? And then so it's all about the damage. You have to open the image in like a new tab because it won't work the other way.
Whatever, it's good enough.
But anyways, dynamic meta. So dynamic meta is that's like the last one that I'm working on. That's the last one that I'm working on, and I've actually kind of started working on it. That's essentially it's not merely playing the meta, it is playing the meta optimally, and it is customization and optimization. That's what it is all about. Because one of the things that I realized is that when I talk to certain engineers, there's sometimes you will have two engineer mains that go into a lot of detail about the various spots that you could place your sentry. Like there was a time where I was asking questions to Constantly in the Engineer.tf voice channel, and then June popped in, and then before you know it, Constantly in June, we're talking about all the various sentry spots that you could put on upward frickin' first, and all of these tiny little details, right? But how many engineers like really think about that, right? Because if you're in Dimension Zero and you're doing static meta, you're doing monkey see, monkey do, and you're just doing what everybody else does, like you don't put like a lot of pub engineers are in Dimension Zero. They just put down sentries on upward first, and they don't think too much about it, right? But people like June and Constantly, they do. Right, and that's like the optimization. But in order to make these optimizations, you need to understand the meta well. You need to understand the game well. You need to have a specific mind for it, if you will. Right. You're always adjusting. You're always changing and mutating depending on what's happening, both for your teammates and for your enemies. A good example of a Dimension 2 engineer is Cooper02, because there was a period of time where I talked to Cooper02, and he would talk about his mindset during when he plays King of the Hill. So what he does is that for the first King of the Hill, what Cooper02 would do is that he would play absolutely box standard, just like cookie cutter meta, right? But the first round of the Koth game, that's the intel gathering round. And then all the subsequent rounds, he continuously adjusts his play based on what he has observed from his opponents and his allies. Right, but not a lot of players approach it with that mindset. Right, but the action stands for the overall philosophy of being dynamic, of being malleable and adjustable no matter what the situation is, for both your allies and both your opponents. Because there's a variety of places to put your stuff, but do you know when to put it? Can you optimize for it?
Right. Okay.
Right, and then the third one was the inverted meta or anti meta, and that's the most interesting one and the least talked about, which is the reason why, like, the second thing that I wrote, the second giant autism like episode that I had, was the unorthodox engineer essay. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the reason why I had. That's the reason why I wrote that one, because it's by far the road that is least treaded. And what's the best way to do this? So when it comes to any sort of meta, right, there is a quirk in the meta, and you as the Jetpack Pyro guy will understand this, right? Because when I dropped the unorthodox one, I still remember, like, summer 2020, you DM'd me wanting to talk about unorthodox Pyro stuff. But there's the strength of unorthodoxy comes because there's a quirk in the meta, and the quirk in the meta is that for every textbook offense, for every textbook strategy, there's a textbook counter strategy. And when the meta is met with a force that is outside of the textbook, they begin to struggle because they're not used to fighting against it. Right? The mere fact that the unorthodox strategy is so alien is a strength in and of itself. It uses its rarity as a weapon.
Right.
Right. So that's the reason why it's like. But here's the thing. That the weird thing is that because there are so little people that are actually going about their way to do this, there's not a lot of information, and there's not a lot of, like, research done, which is my reason for writing what you see on your screen right now. Right. And that was his own thing. Right. So Dimension 2 started because just real quickly, Dimension 2 started because of Dave, which came before Sigathu, funnily enough, and he would do so many, like, weird little details to his buildings. But when I talk to him, he gives, like, explanations that I haven't thought about. You know, like, why'd you put your dispensers out in the open? Well, it's because of like spy routing, or it's because of, like, the various options that it gives my team when they're faced with a sniper sight line. And it's like, I haven't thought of that, but he's taking a lot of additional things into account when he's placing his buildings, and that's kind of the start of. And then he started coming up with these like wild solutions to things, and people were calling him a genius or whatever. But people were kind of going around and trying to adopt this philosophy. That was kind of the sort of dynamic play. And the Significant came around, and then Inverted Meta was Game Master, who you talked to. He was the pioneer of Dimension 3 because he had a philosophy of he really preached the philosophy of the anti-meta, and if you remember from his interview, he also influenced a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
right, and that's kind of why that's the reason why I made him a pioneer. It's like oh boy, do you wanna know what happened when do you wanna know what happened when I released the first one?
sure.
Okay, okay, before that, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quickly, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, I'll do the same. I would, of course, end the recording and edit the parts together, but my power supply situation is still not resolved, so
Okay,
there will be awkward silence for a little bit.
Okay. Hey, are you there?
Okay, I am back. That was probably an exceedingly long break.
That's alright. That's alright. Hope you're doing okay.
Oh yeah, no, I'm doing fine. I really do wish I could actually edit the video, but oh well. C'est la vie.
That's alright. I mean, you could just edit it in post. You could just cut out. You could just cut out components, right?
No, I mean, like, trying to render a video in the first place crashes my computer.
Oh! Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, I kinda just have to upload it. Maybe I could do something in the YouTube editor which doesn't crash. I don't know.
I mean, you can give it a shot. I mean, I can I don't know. I'm pretty sure somebody out there will be happy to edit the video for you.
I'd be surprised. But anyways.
Yeah. Okay, so last chance. Okay, so what happened after I posted the first one is actually like a drama happened. So this is your last chance to back out. This is your last chance to back out of the story.
Tell me the drama.
All right. So I don't know. I don't remember if Game Master told you this in the interview, but you know how he's a bit of a controversial figure.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I posted the essay, right? All I did was like share it in like the engineer.tf Discord. I think like Wax put it in the announcements, which was like, oh, that was awesome. Thank you, Wax. What was it? I shared it in a couple Discords, and eventually, in the UGC Highlander Platinum like forums, right? In the Platinum forum page, Vipa posted my essay. He posted the link in my essay, and he's like, all he wrote was thoughts. And so the firestorm began. Because it turns out like when Game Master won like first place gold and that CP like level 3 CP process play, it turns out people were a lot more agitated about that than I originally anticipated. Like I thought people would get mad at something else. I wasn't expecting people to get riled up over Game Master. But it turns out that like if I remember correctly, like the drama and like the flame war went on for like 30 forum pages.
That's a lot more active than modern forums.
Yeah. So somebody actually commented that the forums have never been this active in years. And the thing was that a lot of the people were like basically saying was arguing that Game Master didn't deserve to be featured in like my essay, essentially. Because they believed they essentially I'll get to their like reason why in a bit, but I don't know all the details of the controversy, and I don't care because it doesn't take away from the particular content, but it caused a lot of arguments. It caused a lot of arguments in the forum, and it went on for 30 pages. Like, and it's just holy mother of God! Like, I just kind of sat there like, what have I done? And it was kind of insulting and sad at first because like, hey, I put a lot of time and I put a lot of work into this. Like, I got somebody to edit my paper and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if you know this player named the Grandmaster, but he edits my. He's like a history major, so he like edits my stuff. I got an editor that goes to my stuff, so I publish, right? And then it's like I just kind of felt insulted. I put so much time and work, and I was so passionate about the project, and then I posted it only for all of this to happen. But it turns out that like once I thought of it in like a different perspective, it was actually pretty amusing.
And what came from all that drama?
Me having a Joker moment. When it's like oh, I thought it was a tragedy, but then I realized it's a comedy.
Is that why you're so adamant that we live in a society?
Yeah, it's a struggle living in a society. I think my custom status right now is society makes life literally.
Yes, I've seen you go through 100 different variations of that in the last few years as your custom status.
Well, I'll explain to you why I found the entire situation so amusing because like I said, first I found it insulting because I put all this effort and now. And by the way, they're not even talking about the contents of the essay necessarily. They're throwing trash at Game Master again. That's it. They were talking about the drama that happened in like Gold like several years ago from that point, right? They weren't even talking about like the contents. Nobody was talking about like the other pioneers. Nobody was talking about like the dimensions. Nobody was talking about philosophy. Everybody was just talking about the drama. Okay, but remember how I told you it went on for like 30 or so pages and it was really active? Think about this for a second, my dear friend, okay? What caused all of this drama? Was it a high-profile player being outed as a predator? No. Was it a high-profile player being revealed as a cheater? No. Was it the untimely passing of a top player? No. Was it a controversial admin decision of UGC? No. What caused the elites of TF2's society to have a mental breakdown in the forums? What caused the firestorm? It was an autistic Asian no-name who decided to hit publish on Steam guides.
Impressive.
And this guy didn't even intend to do it. That's why I found it amusing later. Because first I was assaulted, but then I realized it was actually kind of funny. Because it's like, there are a lot of things that could have made them agitated. But it was some random guy, and like, you saw my competitive history, like, I'm not a high-profile individual, am I?
Not really, no.
No, I'm not a Sigafu, I'm not an Exaflamer, you know, I'm not a Wax, you know, I'm not Mothership. I've only played mid-silver, mid-main. That's the highlight of at least my performance in the middle of the field. Right? I'm not a high-profile guy. I'm not famous. Right? For all intents and purposes, I may as well not exist. You know, I'm just kind of a guy. You know, in TF2. You know, I live in the outskirts of the society, but I caused that firestorm by accident. That's why it's amusing to me. It's just like the scale of the reaction was completely disproportionate to what the actual source was. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's something that you have, like, such little personal involvement in.
Yeah.
Like, and you just get all of that response.
Yeah. No, which is why it was funny, because I never thought like, I don't want to name any names, but some of the people who were involved in this UGC forum drama were some high profile names. Some big boys and girls were involved in this drama. I'm just sitting like, look what I did to these forums by just hitting one button on Steam. Look what I did. Look what I did.
You get the Reddit gold today.
No, I don't. No, I don't get Reddit gold. I get the Reddit downvote. But well, the interesting thing was like, by the way, my response to this entire situation was my response to the drama was to do nothing. By the way, when I realized like the forums were lit on fire, all I did, like, here's what I did when I realized all this drama was happening. I closed my window, I closed Steam, I closed Discord, I closed my laptop, I stood up, I put in earbuds, I went outside for like a 30-minute walk listening to some music, and I came back and I just moved on with my life.
You touched grass?
Yeah. More
way.
More like touch city. I mean, like, what if? Okay. Well, Blissing. What have I to gain by going into the forums and talking to them?
Depression.
Yeah, exactly. I have nothing to gain and I have everything to lose. Why engage in a fight? Like, I don't have a dog in that fight. Why engage? In fact, none of the people were really talking about me. They weren't. Like a lot of the. If I remember correctly, nobody was telling me to like stand up and, you know, say something. You know, it was just drama involving Game Master again on CP Process. So I have no dog in this fight. I don't need to engage. Why waste my time?
Right. So, was it something that ended up like bleeding into any of your interactions, personal, like on a personal level, or is it really just something that got contained to the forum thread?
Well, I mean, there was a couple people who were like, "Hey, aren't you the guy who wrote this?" But like one or two people. But again, my name was not in the mouths of those people in the forums. It was just about Game Master again. That was the other fascinating thing. Like, when I posted it, I was a nobody. And after all of that passed, I was still a nobody.
This says a lot about the state of our community.
No, but it's just like, it's just so fascinating. It's so, like, it's amusing, and it's also, at the same time, it's very fascinating. Because it's like everything, the entire situation just felt extremely awkward. And it was just completely unexpected. But I'll tell you the reason why people were agitated, and by the way, if a lot of the people who argued in the drama, like let's say I got my Pioneer essay and I made like a final exam, right, like a college final exam, and I didn't grade on a curve, most of the people who were involved in the competitive TF2 drama, if they take that test, they would get like a D average. Maybe a C minus. Because their criticism was essentially a straw man, because their understanding of why I put Game Master in the essay in the first place was because they thought that I thought he was the first one to use level 3s in an unorthodox way.
I'm gonna go outside. Goodbye. Good night. Interview's over.
I'm actually. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm gonna read like this one versus. I'm not gonna name this individual, but because here's the thing. I also like respect some of the people that were involved in this. Oh my gosh, where are you?
And that was a decently long time ago now. It's like people could have changed, so on and so forth.
Yeah, but it was interesting to see like I mean, a lot of engineers were doing it. Where was it? 0.5 today. There was what was it? What was it? Yeah, he wrote, the idea of running level 3s in a non-payload game mode is not revolutionary whatsoever. Spamfest, Dave Plus, Enderp, and the likes of other engineers have been doing the same with greater effectiveness. And you have to account for the fact that Rescue Ranger, Wrangler, Sigafusei was still a thing when Game Master was doing it. This individual completely missed the point. The idea of running level 3s in a non-payload game is not revolutionary whatsoever. That is a straw man.
I would agree.
Okay? This person would get a D average if he took my exam. If I like in this hypothetical exam, this guy would not pass the class. Okay, and a lot of people have this mindset where like you realize that like Game Master wasn't the first one to run level 3s in a non-payload setting. It's like, that wasn't my point. And if you misunderstand that, then you fundamentally misunderstand what I was talking about.
Go back to start.
No, I'm actually serious. Like it doesn't make any sense to me, because and it was disappointing too, because here's the thing: a lot of people, they're not stupid. They're not stupid. But their mind went blank when they saw Game Master.
Yeah, they're just a bit set in their ways and pre-existing biases.
Well, because it's like because you okay. Let me ask you, Bliss-Tank. Why did I put Game Master in the essay? Go. Pop quiz.
Because he represents a certain aspect of metagame and strategic development that you're able to kind of tie into the rest of the framework. It's not that he's the only person to do it or the first. It's that he's kind of like the epitome of that sort of aspect of play, of that symbol, I think, for you.
Congratulations, Bliss-Tank. You have a better understanding of what I wrote than like most Platinum players who have read my stuff.
Nice. Congratulations.
You're actually have more intellectual honesty than most Platinum players.
Hooray, 2:56 a.m. super tired, semi-drunken me is smarter than them.
Yeah. You're not even operating at 100% of your power level, right? But you have a better understanding of like what point I was trying to make, because a lot of them, like a lot of them were focused on, hey, you realize he wasn't the okay, listen, let me put it to you this way: the CP process game could have never happened, and Game Master would still be in here.
Yeah, it's just that they kind of overfixate on, I guess. The first step, though, is trying to make yourself sound smart, and then you will sound smart. Just repeat the same things and rephrase them.
Well, it's like, oh god, let me when I thought about like why people would misunderstand, and I came up with like 4 possibilities. They're stupid. They're stupid, which I don't think it's true. I don't think like they're like, you know, on the left side of the bell curve. If anything, they're on the right side of the bell curve.
That's a stupid conclusion to reach, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. B, I did a poor job of writing. I don't think it's the case, because I read through the essay again or somewhere recently, and it seemed to me that I was quite consistent in like the theming of what I wanted to write about. Okay?
I'd agree.
Option C, because of their biases, they have misinterpreted kind of involuntarily because of biases. Okay? Option D, and I really hope option D isn't the case, they're being deliberately dishonest.
I think option C is the most likely. I feel like it's...
I think option... I think so too. Option C and maybe a little bit of option D.
When you're thinking of option D, okay, look at this mongoose. Does this mongoose have malice in mind?
He looks kind of horrified.
Exactly.
He's witnessing the full brunt of the sins of man.
But
he reminds us that life is a never-ending sequence of nightmares that will only end once we're deceased.
Yes, this is the Joker of mongooses.
The Joker of mongoose. It's like, but that's ultimately what happened. It's like you misunderstand. If you think Game Master was the first one to run level 3s, you misunderstand, and you would have picked up on this pattern if you read the component about Sigathu, because in Sigathu, I stated that for one, he wasn't the first DM engineer. Okay? Point number 2, the Sigathu save is not the reason why he's here. The Sigathu save is minuscule, it is microscopic compared to what he actually did. Because what he actually did was significantly more foundational than the Sigathu save. Sigathu save is a drop in the bucket compared to what this guy actually did. Okay? Everybody was focused on the effect. I was focused on the cause. Okay, like look at the second. Look at the go back to a game of chess.
Yep.
Go back to that. Okay. Second paragraph. That's the cause. Okay. Paragraph 3. That's the effect. Everybody was focused on paragraph 3 when the root of paragraph 3 was paragraph 2. If you want to remove Game Master from this essay, you would have to attack paragraph 2 and not paragraph 3.
Well,
right?
I think in forums and in most social circles of the community, it's a lot less beneficial to have independent sort of thought, and it's a lot more rewarded to kind of just bandwagon and attack things collectively together.
Yeah, but at the same time, it is the nonconformists that have basically broken the mold. Like think about music, right? We have all of these different genres that we can't even name all of them, right? But how did these new genres form? Because somebody broke the musical mold, right? Somebody broke the barrier. Somebody went off-road and they discovered something new. And what do you know? We have all of these, so many different forms of music. We don't even know where to begin, right? Like all of the music that people enjoy nowadays were formed by rebels, in a sense. You know, like I don't know, just like see that's like the thing that was like kind of disappointing, because I had a lot of like I don't know, I just looked at all these, you know, the elites of the TF2 society, and I just kind of looked at them and I just kind of said like I think I was just disappointed, because I just looked at them and go, you're better than this. I know you're better than this. I know you can be better than this, but you're not.
You went from being full of hope to an average American. What do you disagree with me?
No, that's just funny. Yeah, no, I guess so.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, that was like my moment where I just kind of like sat in the corner in like disappointment. But then again, I closed everything, and it's like this is a waste of my time. I'm still like this was I wrote this when during my last semester of college. So I was like, you know what, I got much more important things to worry about.
There's more work to be done.
Time. Yeah, there's more work to be done. I had a lot of fun writing it. I'm happy with what I made it, and I published it. And right. So yeah, so that was essentially the thing, and I think the complaint about the Game Master overall was just very immature, and I guess I just kind of expected better of people. But yeah. I guess expecting better of people, that was my first mistake.
Nah, you always want to expect the best of people. You just gotta find the people that meet that expectation.
Oh yeah, I certainly want to be charitable, which is why I said like I hope it's not option D. I just hope that these people are just making an honest mistake because of their bias. Yeah. Which by the way, we're all capable of doing. Like we're all guilty of this. It's not like I'm completely free of sin. You know, I'm certainly guilty of being negatively biased toward this. There's plenty of people in my life that throughout my life that I didn't like. You know, and whenever like I hear bad news about them, I just kind of cling on to them, and I hope that is true. But you know what? If it's not true, then you just kind of have to suck it up and say, yeah, well, it's not true. It's not the truth.
Yeah, I think more often than not, people don't like intend to be malicious. It's just it's just bias. I don't think any of the people who were like complaining about the essay were like malicious towards me. I don't think that at all. I'm just disappointed in their like actions. You know, this person here is my hero.
Oh yeah. This is autistic in the best possible sense of the term.
Yes.
Yeah. I salute you, good sir. But yeah, this one was kind of written because Game Master, not necessarily Game Master, but because I felt like Dimension 3 was the least developed, so I decided to like, hey, this is my attempt to kind of go through this as much as possible. Right. And that's when I formed Categories of Unorthodoxy. And again, this is the cause. Okay? This is what the stuff like the philosophy that is displayed here is the reason why I put Game Master in, right? You would have to, in order for like Game Master to be removed, you would have to make the argument that unorthodox strategies do not work, but they do. And in this particular paper, I have given examples of unorthodox strategies that have worked in competitive games that are much more higher stakes and a much more competitive than competitive
Starcraft?
TF2 is. Yeah, Starcraft. I think I talk about Melee. I talk about baseball.
Oh yeah, no, I saw Melee at some point.
Yeah, I talk about Melee. I talk about Pokemon. I talk about freaking baseball. You know, it's like IRL sports. Like hello, right? But all of these games are of they're much more is at stake in all of these games than competitive TF2 is. In like the grand scheme of things, right? Starcraft, higher stakes. Like professional baseball, higher stakes. Melee, higher stakes. Right, competitive Pokemon. I guess you can argue that that's higher stakes as well, right? It's like these strategies exist and they have proven to work. And some of the things that I talk about is like kind of like a breakdown of what the process would be for like developing these strategies and all the weaknesses that come with it. Like what's the unorthodox archetype? How do you formulate this archetype? What are its strengths and its weaknesses? What are its relationship? What is the strategy's relationship to time? Because time is a massive variable when it comes to unorthodox strategies.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the things you talk about, like with the Dave plus Sentry spot on Upward.
Yeah. So Right, but this also kind of goes to like the point that because all the dimensions are you can think of them as like philosophies or schools of thought. There may be instances where people who exist in those three dimensions come to the same conclusion, right? Like let's take many centuries on defense, for instance, right? An engineer in Dimension 1 will say, well, it's because of damage, it's because of mobility. A Dimension 2 engineer will think, I've come to this conclusion because I have determined that it is the most optimal thing considering my teammates, my enemies, and the map, and kind of the context. and a Dimension 3 engineer will come along and say, this is a very unorthodox strategy that not many people use, and as long as I can make it work, my enemy will struggle to adjust. Right? Same outcome,
Right.
but it came from different schools of thought.
I know, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's always interesting seeing where like different players and schools of thought diverge and converge to reach conclusions.
Yeah. And that was kind of the point. And I've noticed this in competitive engineers too, right? I've noticed this like I don't know if we're talking about June. June was like a 1 and a 2. I think Austin was like a 1 and a 3. Hammock is like a strong 3. It's like Dave Plus was also like a 1 and a 2, right? It's like I just kind of observe kind of what people talk about or kind of their mannerisms or how they think about the class, and I kind of realize what their philosophy or their thought process is for the most part.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess like, what sort of plans do you have for? Well, actually, what reception did you get to the second essay? Like, did you get anything like the first?
Well, okay. So nothing like the first. Thankfully, I don't want to be. I don't want to accelerate the eschaton. But so for the first one, obviously, competitive players for the most part didn't like it, but casual players liked it. The first one, like if you go to the comments, like you'll see a couple people who are not competitive players talking about how they liked it. But what is it? When I released the unorthodox one, competitive players liked it, and casual players seem to not like it.
I'm gonna guess like it's because it's in the first one it's less specific history maybe and a lot more just like general theory, but then maybe in the first one it's like a lot more detail focused, like player focused, and so it's less relatable to the casual player who might not know about the competitive history of the players.
Well, I mean, no. The first one was well received by casual players.
I know. I'm saying like the competitive
Okay,
players might appreciate the second one more because it's much more focused on like those specific players and their play styles, whereas the first one is much more like broadly theoretical and applicable to the casual player, maybe because it's like they aren't as reliant on understanding the competitive aspects of the players.
Right. Because I think obviously competitive players disliked it because I put
that
Game Master. Yeah, because I put Game Master in there, but I think the reason why casual players liked it is because it was kind of like a quick world tour of what I thought the engineer class was.
Right.
And that's but I think I don't know. I think when it came to the unorthodox essay one, that was when I really tried to get into the weeds of things.
I feel like maybe that's just like some of the nuance there, like the finer details isn't as appreciated or applicable in a casual sense.
Yeah, sure. And I don't take any offense to that. It's just it's like, hey, go as deep into the game as you would like.
Right.
Right, and it's like, hey, if you just wanna play at a surface level, if that's how you enjoy the game, go for it. I don't have a problem, right? But if you want to if you're interested in like going much more nuanced with the class, hey, the stuff is here for you, right? And so that was kind of it. So people can I mean, I don't know. I don't mind like rude comments. Like, I mean, if I sometimes I find them funny if they're like creative,
Right.
Yeah, there's the guy who's like, where on the spectrum do you fall? Like, I'm pretty sure he meant that in like a rude way, but I found it funny. It's just like,
that's a competitive player right there.
Oh yeah,
pretty sure, or maybe
okay. Well, I don't know, but I'm pretty like even if he
or it might be a slightly different spelling. Actually, might not be.
Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. Like whether the person meant it in malice or not, it's just funny. Like, I know it's like it's likely that he's like kind of insulting me, but it's just funny to me because it's like, hey, it's just a clever quip,
Yeah, I think there's a D for the competitive player there, like Jack. I don't know. I'm too tired. Whatever.
Anyway, yeah, no, it's all right, and it's like, and then whenever you publish something like kind of in public, there's kind of like an agreement that you're you're just gonna get rude comments. So it's like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah, you're gonna get some criticism.
Yeah. That's anything that you post on the internet for public consumption, right? You're gonna get people who like crap on it and whatnot, and that's perfectly fine. They're at their right to do so.
Right.
So that was kind of reception. That was kind of reception for both. I currently have a third one kind of like almost done actually, because the only thing that needs to happen is that my editor needs to go through it. It needs to go to like the last stretch. I make the edits and then I hit publish. And that's the go ahead.
I was gonna ask, what's sort of the premise behind that, if you don't mind saying?
Yeah. So okay. So the Pioneer one kind of serves as like the base, right? Kind of like the root of where all these come from.
Yeah.
The one that you're looking at, right? That's from Dimension 3, right? We were talking about Unorthodoxy. The one that I'm talking about is Dimension 1, which is combat engineering, which is just hey, just shoot people, lol. And right now in the Google Doc, let me. I don't know, like I'm not logged into like the account that I use for the Google Drive yet, but because I have to go back to editing it, but it's like it's just going around like how to just it's just about DMNG, it's I think that's the closest thing I'm ever gonna get to like writing a traditional guide, kind of like the normal guides that you see on the internet, right? Because it's basically like, hey, here's how you aim good. Then we talk about weapons. Then we talk about class matchups. Then we talk about like just general, just kind of like things that you do as combat engineer.
So like
we end
an engagements picking guide, kind of.
More like a manual than anything. Like instead of like a I don't know. Like I guess the last one would be like a theoretical textbook, but the combat engineer one is more like a manual. And if I remember the length of the funny thing about the combat engineer one is that I think it's the longest one that I've ever written so far.
How?
It's like if you want to know like how long it is on the freaking Google Doc, would you like to know how long the Google Doc is?
Yeah,
it's 75 pages. 75 pages. Font size 12. Times New Roman single space.
You know what? I'm gonna be your tutor. I'm telling you, three pages max.
No, shut up.
No, this is an assignment. It doesn't matter if you put your time, care, or heart into it. If it's a good product, it has to meet the specific criteria.
No.
3 pages max.
No.
I will arbitrarily enforce this on you.
No, that's just enforce it on your stuff. That the stuff that you write, man. It's like but it but it was more like I wanted to like write all this stuff because I was like, well, when I wrote the first one, I realized that my idea of like the dimensions had served as a good vehicle. It served as a good vehicle for like other works to come around. So I left to like Dimension 3. Now I'm talking about the bizarre taxonomy, and then next one I'm talking about Dimension 1, and I'll be writing one more after that, which is about Dimension 2. And I think I don't know. I haven't gone too far to writing the Dimension 2 one, but I think that's gonna be my best one.
Your magnum opus.
Yeah. And then after that, I think I can leave TF2 satisfied.
You think you're gonna call it quits after that? You think?
I mean, I'm probably still gonna play the game, but it's like, well, I can kind of like, hey, I've done what I wanted to do. It's like,
yeah, good to know when to leave it behind.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I wrote my 4, I wrote my sequence of 4, and I'm like, you know what, this is great.
That's fair. Good to know to have a limit set.
Yeah. And then the other quick thing, the other quick thing is that and this was the most encouraging thing that I've gotten. It was you remember I said like if I see engineers doing something interesting, like I want to talk to them.
Yeah.
So one of the people that I talked to was Austin, because I wanted information out of Austin, right? So I told him about my theory of the dimensions, right? I told him about my little theory that I had, and just kind of like the philosophy of doing things, and he talked about how he played, and he plays very DM oriented, and he and his team likes to play very unorthodox. And And then eventually he says, like, where do you think I fit in quality? And I said, I think you're like a 1-3, like a combination of 1-3. And it's like, okay, I think that's fair. And it's like, I don't, the place where I don't think you're in is Dimension 2, which is being much more like adaptable and dynamic. And he's like, and then eventually we just kind of the call ended. But I didn't think he would actually think about it, because eventually he had like playoffs in early 2022, right? And then I got a DM from him, and he's like, he basically said he lost playoffs, but he played the best engineer of his life, because he thought about Dimension 2, the part that he was missing.
What you're saying is... Oh, sorry.
That made my week. Like, I'm not even kidding. That made my week, because I was sitting here like, I'm just some like idiot at the corner, like, doing crackpot ideas. But no, there was some degree of merit to what I think about, and that was an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's always good to have to see the impact your work is having.
Yeah, it was, and it's like, well, and it's like, I don't, it just wasn't a result that I was expecting. Whenever I talk to people about things like this, I just kind of don't. I generally don't expect them to think like a lot about it. It's just like, okay, I guess that's cool. They don't think about it for like ever. But this was particularly encouraging to me, and it was like I said, it made my week. It just filled my life with positivity for multiple days on end.
That's definitely fair. Good to be validated.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm probably getting you very late, aren't I? I mean, I'm looking at the clock at the bottom left corner, and you also mentioned that you're pretty sleepy.
Yeah,
so.
3:19.
Oh goodness me! But
that's good. It's all about having a product you're satisfied with.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't know. Nothing's ever perfect. I'm pretty sure. I'm fairly confident that if I go back to this, or if I go back to the Pioneer one, I can always go back and look at things that I could always improve on, right?
Right.
But it's out there. It's done and done. I'm just going to kind of write my next thing, and then hopefully by the end of this year, I should have the third one out.
What do you think is something you could improve on the most, though? Like, what have you learned the most from these two prior essays?
I think like grammar, or just writing sentences, or not being redundant, or just toning down on overly flowery language, and just like focusing on the main points. Focusing on trying to use more active voice instead of passive voice, right? Because it's like I said, the person who edits my stuff, he goes like, "Hey, you're using passive voice here. Active voice sounds a lot better. This sentence is pretty much the last sentence but reworded, so you should probably remove this." And sometimes he just goes, "This entire paragraph is completely unnecessary. Why'd you write this?" Right? So it's like having that sort of feedback, like, not only it makes the end product better, but makes the next product better.
Right. Okay. Just knowing when it's better not to say something, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sometimes like you need restraint, right?
Right.
There's certain like phrases I like to write, but it didn't turn out as well as I initially anticipated, so I had to remove it, right? Or sometimes one of the things I learned is that sometimes what the plan that you have in your head, right, doesn't necessarily work out, right? Because you're on the unorthodox one. So for the unorthodox one, there were actually 5 categories originally. There's 4 now, but there was originally 5.
Really?
Yeah, and then I thought about it, and I was like, actually, no, I don't think this 5th category really belongs. I think this 5th category is just something that's prevalent in general.
What was the 5th category?
It was like, if I remember correctly, the 5th category was like, it's unorthodox because it's difficult to master. It's like, it's unorthodox because it's hard to do. And the example that I had was a Starcraft opening called the 1-1-1 build. And it was a somewhat cheesy opening versus a Zerg, and it was all the craze for a period of time before it kind of fell out of style. But it was like one barracks, one factory, one starport, go go go, and you're on the razor's edge of like getting the bare minimum amount of units. It was very unusual for the matchup, but at the same time, it required a lot of finesse to pull off properly, right? But you can make that argument of like requiring a certain level of finesse to all 4 categories, right? It takes a certain amount of finesse to do any of the 4 very, very well. So that's why it's like, well, yeah, it's like you can make an argument that it's unorthodox because if it's something that is very difficult to obtain, then it's going to be rare. Right, and that's kind of the mindset that I had, but then I realized that that sounds like more like a common property,
like a given, yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's kind of like a well, it's a given under certain circumstances, and it is a given. You really like that image, do you?
I do. It's very vibrant and colorful.
Do you wanna make that the thumbnail?
Yes, I do.
You wanna make that the thumbnail for the vid?
Yes.
It's like. Oh my gosh.
I want you save! Oh, okay, it heard my prayers. My screech.
You wanna make that the fuck, bro?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you freaking. Oh my gosh. Okay, but right. So but there was originally a 5th category, right? But that's like one of the things, like all the things that you want to do don't go as planned. So when I had like I think I had a second Google document that I did this. I had all the categories listed out, and then I kind of put bullet points about the properties. And then I came to like the 5th one, and I really thought about it. It's like, nah, it doesn't really belong. So I kind of axed it. And then you also notice that like I put like labels or categorizations on the categories too, right? So the analogy. So like initially I talked about, dimensions, right? Dimension 1, dimension 2, dimension 3, dimension 0. I gave like titles to like each of the pioneers, like Dave Plus was the scientist, Spamfest was the prototype, right? But in this case I used the analogy of like organisms, right? And analogies really help stick inside people's memories. And it also like gives people a vocabulary to work with. Having some sort of like vocabulary or having some sort of just having some sort of jargon. I think that's an apparatus that could be very useful.
I would agree. Yeah, good to have some very consistent vocabulary from like project to project, essay to essay, paragraph
or just like fields in general. It's like if I talk to like in metallurgy, right? There's like the atoms like pack themselves into different types of crystal structures, and all of these crystal structures have very unique names, right? Instead of saying there's like a crystal structure that is hexagonal. Well, instead of like describing the formation of the atoms like bit by bit, just say that it's a hexagonal crystal structure, and all the other scientists will understand what you're talking about. It clears up confusion, right?
Right, but like, what is the average TF2 player going to be like expecting?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it is like it's still like at the very least it's still the essay still lends itself to that sort of facilitation. Should it open itself to that, right? I know that like the sure, like people aren't going to be using these terminologies, but the option is still there, right? And I think it's and at the very least, it gives the entire paper a sense of cohesion.
Yeah.
Right. And it allows like a certain amount of like dialogue, right? Because like if you're reading like a textbook or something, right? If you understand the terminologies within that textbook, right, you can begin to have a dialogue with like the person who initially like read it. I'm sorry, the person who initially wrote it.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
It's good to have that sort of interaction spring from it.
Yeah. So it's just that sort of thing is kind of the reason why, and also like I said, analogies really help things stick.
But like the contrast between this name and this comment.
Man, I can't stop thinking how much
Look
time
at
could have been
that name, though. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Sus.
either. I don't know. I don't know either, man.
Anyways, sorry, as you're saying.
No. It's all right. It's God, what was it? Yeah, but that was kind of my reason for structuring things that way. And then and believe it or not, it's not like it's not even a believe it or not. It's not like I come up with the organisms and then I like cram the philosophy into it. I came up with the philosophy was there first, and then I put the analogy on top of it. Right. So the categories that I had was like first category like surprise attack, or like category 2 was like a like another category was like parasitic, and the other category was like meta shifting, right? And then from there I started putting the analogy on top of that because it helped better facilitate the discussion internally. So it's not like I don't know. There's like a bit of a weird stereotype of like, oh, I don't know. Suppose a criticism that you can levy at this is like, well, you just try to come up with these interesting analogies and then you cram your philosophy into it. No, it's like no. The idea came first, and then the analogy came second.
Yeah, I could sort of like get that vibe from some of the comments on the first one.
Yeah, but again, like this is like, but I also understand like this stuff isn't for everyone to read. Like I even say like I think for the introduction of both essays, I'm like, if you're not interested in this stuff, just close the tab. I don't want to waste your time.
Oh no, definitely, yeah. And it's also just like all stuff that like you can kind of work on, improve going forward. You know, it's just like it's not going to be definitive of every subsequent product you do. You know. It's a learning
like
experience for you as well. Like you're just another person writing it, working on it, spending all that time.
Yeah, and I also find writing the stuff enjoyable. Like I get excited. I get excited whenever like sometimes I write like a sentence and I have to walk around because I'm so excited, and then I sit down and I keep typing. And I keep typing because I get a little restless because I get excited.
I feel that.
Right. So that's one of the things that happen, and I ended up like for like the second one, I ended up like commissioning custom artwork, custom like source filmmaker posters. And
really?
And then I got that. Yeah, and then in retrospect, both of them have custom artwork for its cover actually. Yeah, that's custom artwork. I commissioned an artist in order to do that. So it's like since it's based on like organisms and taxonomy, it was like a taxonomy tree. You know, it's coming from the century and it's like going to all the little sectors.
Yeah.
Like, that's custom. Yeah, I paid for like I commissioned an artist in order to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then I think like somewhere up there you'll see like a source filmmaker poster of like an engineer going to like the woods or something, like trying to discover new organisms. I commissioned an artist to do like stuff like that.
Average Reddit user.
Average Reddit, just shut up.
Look at how they're dressed up. Like, look at that hat. You can't tell me that's not the hat of a Redditor. They're going outside for the first time in their lives. So you're like, I don't know what dangers could look out here.
Wait. He's not a Redditor. He's like touching grass.
Yeah, no, but like, here's what I'm saying. Like, here's my argument, right? Look at that big metal helmet. Okay.
All right.
And they're like dressed for the apocalypse. Like they're going into a war zone. They don't know what to expect because they're going out for the first time in their life. So that's why they have that giant metal helmet. It's like somebody leaving the apocalypse bunker.
What's your explanation for the machete?
Again, they're preparing for battle. They don't know what to expect. It's like,
I see.
You got to put yourself in the mind of like somebody coming out of a Fallout shelter in a Fallout game. They're encountering civilization for the first time in like 100 years. Now do you see?
They're too busy moderating like 100. They're too busy moderating like 100 Reddit pages in order to be and then after that they're gonna be an admin for Discord.
You see what I mean then now? Do you see the correlation there?
I kind of do, but I'm not 100% on board.
Also, who goes outside with goggles?
Engineer does.
And And who else would? A Redditor. I rest my case.
Oh my gosh.
It's a Reddit cosplay.
No!
I rest my case!
Okay.
This is an iron case. I'm Phoenix Wright.
You're Phoenix Wright. Oh, you're sitting with the objection. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, anyways, carry on.
At this point, I just want to be the jury. Just like sitting there, just do my duty and go home. Yeah. No, but after the first one, this one was a lot more ambitious, and I wanted to make it look more like a completed professional product. So I ended up hiring an artist to draw all the animal symbols and the cover art, and then I got a source filmic artist to make a sort of posters, and then I still had that same editor, the Grandmaster, go through all of this. Yeah, the Grandmaster go through all of this again. Yeah, there's all the credits and whatnot. And then for the third one, I still have a custom artwork. I got custom artwork from the same artist. I got the custom source film maker posters from the same SFM artist, and then those are all in there. And Grandmaster's going through it again. He's been going through a lot of stuff lately, so the editing, he's been editing kind of on and off, which is fine. It's like I completely understand, life happens, and but like I kind of go through all of this process in order to make it. So it's not just me. I'm like getting the help of other people. And for the third one, the other thing that I did was I reached out to Wax and Grin and I asked them for interviews.
Oh, really?
So yeah, there's like 5 hours of content. It's like 5 hours of me asking questions to them and kind of discussing about what's going on.
In video or text?
Oh, in video.
Oh, cool.
It's like I have an enlisted playlist on YouTube right now, and it's like 5 hours long, and it's just me talking. And it's like I put all the timestamps. I put like the chapters. There's like TF2 B-roll footage. It's not the greatest thing on the planet, but it's kind of got the bare minimum of what you want to do. And those interviews kind of serve as the appendix, if you will, like kind of at the end of a paper. It's not like the forefront. It's kind of like the things in the back if you just want to hear my interactions with these people. And then Mothership helped me like set up kind of like some audio stuff. That's why I told you to talk to Mothership many months ago about like, hey, if you're having trouble with audio stuff for these interviews, you can talk to Mothership about it.
It'd be funny.
What
if you like chose bits of this video to put into that essay?
in which one?
Your upcoming essay.
Oh no.
That'd be very funny. We could do like essay interviewception. Think about it.
No.
Yes.
No. It's not relevant to the topic.
Doesn't matter. It's entertainment value.
It's like no. But you get the idea. It's just like
definitely.
A lot of stuff goes. A lot of stuff goes into it, and I have a good time, and I'm losing money, but losing money has never been more entertaining.
Oh, I'm really happy for you. It's better than spending it on crates.
Yeah, I'm not gonna gamble. No, thank you.
Yeah, better than spending on TF2.
Even during like even during the Great Depression, I'm not wasting my money on this.
You're a fool then. The Great Depression was the best opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I know. I kind of felt like I kind of have moral apprehension about it. It's just like I don't know about this, man.
You didn't want to fight the man.
No. Just I don't know.
That's fair.
It didn't sit very well with me. For some reason, although I would probably be hypocritical. I'm probably going to be a hypocrite about it like 3 months later. Freaking nice.
All I'm saying is, the Great Depression gave me like room to sell my all class unusual because I got nice ones for the classes I wanted anyways, and
oh yeah, okay.
Overall, I gained monetary value from it.
Okay,
well, it was fortunate.
I think Valve's kind of maneuvering of the situation was pretty fine because they have full control of the economy.
Oh yeah, I'd agree.
And, like them making like the certain ads untradeable. I think that's the best move that they.
It was a win-win for basically everybody except for people who wanted to screw other people over from it.
Yeah.
Which still happened to an extent, but
yeah, we got the good ending.
Yeah, the great ending.
We got the great.
So you're looking to like expand your scope a bit further though when it comes to like the professionalization and the sort of behind the scenes work for your third one. Yeah.
Well, it's more like so the reason for me interviewing Wax and Grin in the first place is because my playstyle is not DM oriented. Right? If I were to put myself in like I wouldn't really consider myself really deep into any of the 3 non-zero dimensions. But if I were to, I would say I would have been in Dimension 2 with a little bit of 3. Definitely not Dimension 1. My DM is freaking awful. If you lose to me in MGE, you got some problems, my friend. Okay. Okay. You lose to me in an MGE, boy. Okay, we got some. I got some worse for you, my dude. But so the reason why I reached out to him is because I was not very knowledgeable on the topics. So I wanted information from the people who really specialize in that field. Which inadvertently, when I was talking to Mothership and I asked him for advice, he gave me some instruction and he gave me some advice on the matter. And that's how it came along, and I realized that. And then the Unorthodox one, that was my first time really commissioning artwork, so it's like, okay, well, I kind of had some experience with that now, right? So it was that sort of stuff, and I really wanted to make it. I really wanted to make it look like. I really wanted to make them stand out, because if you just go on like Steam guides in general, right? If you just click Steam guides and if you go to TF2, a lot of them are like a lot of them are just like memes, right?
How to build a nuclear bomb.
How to move. Right? It's
Russia.
It's like you see. Right, but it's like, but if I have a custom artwork with a professional looking title and everything, and like a good, like, right, then it ends up differentiating itself, right?
Like this, for instance, it comes off a bit differently than.
Yeah, exactly. The How to Save TF2 one, right? You can tell that.
I don't. Okay.
Okay, never mind.
Hey, it had a nice thumbnail.
Yeah, but it's like, but really think about it. Like, how many times do you click on a video and you're interested in a video because it has an interesting title and an interesting thumbnail, right? How many times have we all done that?
Honestly, not that often. I normally just sort by games I want to watch.
Okay. But still, the strategy exists of YouTubers.
Yes,
but if you because if you that's why YouTubers, right? The people who people who make the YouTube stuff, right? They make a good thumbnail, they make a good title, right? Because they know that's gonna catch an eye, and that's gonna make their content more appealing and more professionally done.
Yeah, and this is a appealing title to me.
Yeah, TF2.
Hey, it's very to the point.
You actually gotta link me this. This is actually interesting. I actually want to read this later when I have time.
See, what I look for in guides and videos is just non-capitalized, non-clickbait, just kind of descriptive of the thing in question, and then thumbnails exist, I guess, but it's mostly the title works.
Yeah, but that's kind of like that was kind of like the mindset. Like for the Pioneers and Dimensions one, I got some random image of a wrench in I got some image of a wrench in order to do it, but eventually over time I commissioned the artist to make a custom image. Right. So if you scroll down, you can see the bigger version of it.
It gives a certain sense of identity. My push-to-talk key keeps sending it forward, so I'm just holding it down for an extended, uncomfortable period of time right now until I get to a safe space.
Yeah. So I commissioned that one later, years after it was written.
Is this Pythagoras?
I just put the guy hey, chalkboard engineer, put a bunch of math stuff, and then we're good. We're good to go.
Del Conager, the first. Inventing engineering.
Yeah, but I thought, it's I was thinking what's the custom artwork gonna be, right? So I'm putting all these things together.
A lot of calculations and art.
Yeah, just it doesn't need to be anything accurate. It just needs to give off the feeling of just formulation and figuring things out,
Mm-hmm.
It was right. That's why it's on a blackboard. That's why it feels a little bit smudgy. The freaking artist is.
It has a personality to it. I especially like the arcs. Just having the arc be visualized on the back of the head.
Yeah, and it's like a yeah. So what I told them to do is I want it to be two halves. I want like one half to be like engineer, but the other half to be like mathy stuff, right? So just do mathy stuff. I have a mechanical engineering degree, I swear, right? So it's not,
Yes.
but like yeah, it's just like yeah, so split it right down the head, and then you can have some like geometry stuff on the side, right? And then you can put the math equations like back there. Yeah, you could put a couple of TF2 related entities. Yeah, if you decide to put like a mini century and a pyro, fine. And then for the taxonomy one, it was like a century that was like going off to like a taxonomy tree, right? And there was like details that I put, and then for that one, like I also thought about like the selection of the colors was also intentional. For bizarre taxonomy, yeah, the selection of the colors that I picked for the animals was also very intentional. It's like, yeah. So it's like those like the freaking you see in biology like the tree of life.
Yeah.
And how evolves into like all of these species, right? So it's like there's a lot of a certain kind. There's a lot of a certain kind, right? Of this species. There's a certain kind of like, So I think it's like I think you want to preface as well like biology or something, but it's like you've seen those things where it's like it has an ancestor and it's going here and it's going here, right? Yeah, the top left image.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
So that's what I think. That's what I sent the artist. I think that's what I sent the artist. It's like it looks like that, but I want more lines connected to the first two and barely any lines connected to the last two. And I want no lines connecting to the last one. There's one line connecting to that. There's no line connecting to the last. Why? Because the last two are the least developed.
Right, and that ties back to what you were talking about with like the rarity of them. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. So I had a lot of fun with it because the art was like I had a lot of fun talking with the artist and like coming up with it because it was just I get to put like symbolism, within the artwork themselves, and like the colors were intentional too, right? Because it's like the mistletoes, it was like the mistletoe had a parasitic relationship with the meta, so I gave it a black coloring. If you go to that particular section, right? The mantis it's very fast and it's very like it's like an outburst, so I gave it the color red.
Right.
So it's like I like just putting all this thought into it and making it all come together. Like I get a lot of joy after that, and I was really excited to get every single piece of artwork that I got.
What about orange for the mongoose?
Oh man, I don't remember. Son of a gun. I don't remember. I think it had to do with like I think it's because orange had to do with like trickery, and then the beaver was purple because like I think purple was like the representation of like enlightenment or like higher thought.
Okay.
Which is what it is, because it's like this is the beavers when I talk about Savior and how he completely like redefined the meta, which is what the beaver does. It's like like they build a dam and it completely like redefines the local environment, right? It's like that's the idea.
Right, and that ties back to the God of the Battlefield thing.
Yes, exactly. Like God of the Battlefield 1 and God of the Battlefield 2, and Savior was a paradigm shifter. By the way, this guy's a criminal. Like this guy went to jail. I just wanna say that real quickly.
For match fixing, right?
That's right. He so real quickly, like his matches in 2005 all the way to 2007 were legit, but after like a couple years after that, he started falling off. So he started getting involved with illegal and gambling sites, and it was match fixing. Now the government got involved, the police came, and he got arrested, and he went to jail. And then he had to do like community service, and then the other thing was like he didn't show much remorse for what he did, and he didn't show much remorse for what he did because he like after he got released or anything, he started making fun of like Starcraft players or something. He's like, oh yeah, you guys are playing a dead game, I still have money.
Average TF2 player, holy shit.
But it's like, oh, I still have money, like screw you guys, and then his teammates started coming up because like they really didn't have like the power to speak up, you know what I mean? Other his teammates. So so one of his teammates was talking about like, oh yeah, he was like buying like I don't know, like fancy watches and like fancy cars with his freaking esports money like a loser, he was like really obsessed with his image. He was buying like gold jewelry and stuff, and I was like, I guess I kind of believe that, but Yeah, so this guy, not the most moral individual on the planet, but he was. But I'm glad that the Starcraft community in general just kind of had the maturity to like separate the art from the artist, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like yeah, Savior may be an awful individual, and he's permabanned from ever playing, and he will rightfully never play a competitive game ever again. He did end up apologizing, but it was when he lost everything, so we know why. We know the true reason for his apology. But despite the heinous acts of this particular individual, people still acknowledge that he was a phenomenal player, and people still owe a lot to this guy on basically his place in history in the StarCraft meta. I think that's something that's actually quite mature because even if you don't like the person, you can at least acknowledge that the person did something interesting.
Right, like you can't really just rewrite the history.
Right. It's like I don't know. I've had in my life, right, in school or like just kind of just living with other people in general. There are people I don't like. There are people I absolutely like despise. But if I just take a step back and I just like think about the person, just kind of in general, right? Yeah, it's like I may not like this individual because of X, Y, and Z, but he's really good at ABC, and that's something I can't take away from him. And that's something I wish I had. It's a skill I wish I had, right? Like if you can get over like the biases and just kind of like separate the art from the artist, I think a lot of people can kind of grow and develop. Just look at the facts and the product, and just try to separate your biases from whoever said it, and just care about the truth in question.
All right. It's pretty fair, yeah. I feel like it's definitely easier to do if somebody is like permanently removed from a community, though. It's very hard to do that when they're like actively involved in it. For sure.
Yeah. But I mean, in all fairness, like that sort of thing is very difficult to do. Like it's tough to ask of anyone, right? Can you say about somebody that can you give credit to where credit is due to somebody you absolutely despise and cannot stand? That's a tough ask of anyone, and I don't blame the individual for letting their hatred of an individual overtake them. It's a very difficult like internal struggle to overcome. But if you can manage to overcome it, and if you can fight it, then your growth as a person will be accelerated, and you're able to live more peaceably with other people.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't want to give Savior too much credit here because it was like I'm like talking about all the things he did. I'm just sitting here like hours later going, "Oh, by the way, this guy went to jail. This guy's actually a criminal. Like he did time.
Career criminal."
Yeah. I don't think any like competitive TF2 players went to jail, have they?
And I'm sure that like in the course of history, some have.
Yeah, like somebody went to jail, right? Like somebody had to like I don't know. Somebody went to the authorities.
Yeah.
Considering all the shenanigans that's happened throughout history.
Certainly.
Oh my goodness me.
Are there any other sorts of things you'd want to talk about, or do you think that probably runs about most of it? Because I am pretty tired if you don't.
I don't want to. Yeah, I first of all, I apologize. It's almost 4 a.m. your time.
Oh, no, it's sorry.
Son of a gun. Shoot. Yeah, I think it's. I think we're pretty much fine. I mean, there is another thing that's like completely unrelated to all of this, and that's the 2-year. No. This requires a whole nother session. Okay, this requires a whole nother session. It's when I became a Discord admin of a TF2 server. A Discord admin of a TF2 server. Do you know what the own group is?
Oprah
TF2.
Oprah Winfrey Network?
No, the Our World Now clan.
Oh, right! Our World Now?
Yes. They they have a Discord server, and there's a 2-year saga. I was an admin of it.
Tell me.
That's gonna be his whole nother session. We're gonna have to arrange another session. We're gonna have to do something like, if you want to hear about that, we're gonna have to do something like, how many subscribers do you have on YouTube? Do you have like
165?
Okay. If we can get Bliss Tank to 200 subscribers, I will come on the show again, and I'm gonna talk about my experience with the Our World Now group.
165.
Okay. We get Bliss Tank to like. We get Bliss Tank to 200 subscribers. And I'm gonna talk about my 2-year saga with the Our World Now group. Okay? we get let's actually let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna come on here again. I'm gonna talk about the Our World Now group. Or maybe I'll just do it anyways. Because it's again, it's a journey. It's an experience.
Well, I'll have to check my scheduling book, but for a small, generous donation, I could be persuaded.
I have okay. I'm gonna give you like a little like a Costco sample to whet your appetite. Okay.
All right.
I have a demo of me sitting in one of their training sessions. All right. And there's a dude who unironically gives like an anime villain speech.
Okay, we are doing this. Hopefully they do not reach you first and target you. You know, you might need to go.
They don't even know you exist.
No, I'm saying you. Like, you might need to go into protection for a bit. You know, ask for asylum in RGL. Make sure you're safe. I'll cover you in a bit.
Oh my gosh! Where am I going to be held, or where are you going to be held?
No, it's you. Where are you going to be held? They're going to go for you.
Where am I going to be held for protection?
Yeah.
I mean, the leaders of this clan live in like a completely different state in the United States. I think I'm going to be fine.
I don't know. You might want to invest in security.
What invest in security? I'm gonna have to build sentry against IRL.
Yeah, a level 3.
Yeah, just put a level 3 on.
No, just build a level. Just build a telly. So like when they go up to the door to enter, you know, they'll just be teleported away.
Oh, I can teleport all the way back to Korea. They get drafted for the military. Genius. That's genius. Yes. And then 2 years later, I come back when you have 200 subscribers, and then we can finally have the episode 2.
But I definitely do think that'd be interesting. It's more that, as you might be able to tell, my ability to like partake in quality discussion is continually declining as I get more tired.
Yeah, no, that's completely understandable. But this one, my freaking admin saga is like, that's more like story time. You know, it's not so much like deep discussion. It's more like this one is like I get to talk about like, hey, all the stuff that I did, or like all the various stuff that I know about gaming, or just kind of like philosophy, which I didn't even touch upon like the philosophy of the engineer class in general. I didn't go too much in depth in that. But the other thing is it's just fun storytelling. It's about, you know, we're talking about like frickin', oh my gosh, I just have to. Oh my gosh, they're just some things you have to see to believe, my friend.
Well, touch upon the philosophy of the engineer for a bit, then. Be my guess.
No, we already did.
I thought you just said you didn't. I thought you just said you didn't like to explain what to do.
No, we didn't go in as like I didn't go as perhaps maybe I didn't spend as much time as I would have liked, but that's perfectly fine. I think we talked about it enough.
Ah, okay.
All right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll just have to wait until you get 200 subscribers, then I'll be back to haunt you.
The ghost of my past and present.
Yeah, I'll talk about Our World Now. I'll talk about my 2-year saga with them. All right. All right. I think that's it.
That is
both enough. All right.
Well enough.
Okay. All right.
3:35 is the duration so far. I'll go and end the recording.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Sure thing.